go! Welcome back to the EdgeStream! It's good to be here tonight. I'm here with at least one special guest for the night. How are you doing, Ferryman?
I'm all right. I leave for Hamilton tomorrow. That should be fun.
Yeah, man. I'm going to be seeing you there. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of people from the community there.
I
It's
actually
going to...
might be seeing you a lot sooner.
Oh. Oh, well,
Yeah.
like right now while we're on the stream together, right?
No, no, not right now.
Oh.
Tomorrow.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. I don't even know how you're possibly going to do that. Are you like taking
I
the
don't know for
world?
sure. It depends on timing and stuff like that, but we'll see what we can do.
Well, yeah, I guess we're all out on flights again. I guess, man, this is something that
Yeah.
I'm not used to anymore. Right? We're allowed the luxury of getting on a plane to go to a different place in our own countries. Wow.
It's yeah. I mean, I didn't even look. Do they still require masks on a plane? I don't fucking care.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
I might not make it.
If you go down, if the plane goes down, it goes down. Okay.
It is a budget. I'm flying there on a basically Canada Goose V tied together with a seat strapped between them, so it should be fun. You know, the rinky dink airlines. So yeah,
Okay, okay. So you got some some dissident bigot who has one of those pedal planes.
something like that. Yeah, I guess. I don't want
Okay,
to say the name of the airline, but yeah, no, it's a budget airline. So
fucking
we'll
sweet.
see.
Just make sure that you parachute drop in before 8 p.m. into Orangeville because that's when the Danger Cat show is going to be. And we might be having a special guest on tonight, Uncle Hack. I know he's ripping around like Ontario. I think he's in Toronto tonight, but he said that he would make it in tonight to this show if he could. And yes, I will be performing live with him tomorrow night in Orangeville. There'll be a bunch of friendly faces there. I believe Derek is going, Tofu, some of my friends, my parents are gonna go. They're gonna see what spectacle their son has become live. It's gonna be great.
Damn, that's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
You got any new songs lined up?
Well, as far as new songs, I don't know what you've heard. You probably only heard Helen Keller in its entirety, but I have three other
That's true.
songs that I think are just as good as Helen Keller, if not better in some ways. They're all equally good in my repertoire. So you probably know what they are, but yeah, Grumpy Greta is a new one that I might be doing, or I might be doing some other ones. It depends on how much time they give me. So we'll see. Either way, it's gonna be fucking awesome. I crushed in London, so I can only imagine what it's gonna be like in Orangeville. They've had some time to adjust to like the venues because it's been the same venue each time. So they kind of know what they're getting into now. You know, they're kind of feeling it out earlier. So each show is getting better and better, like they say.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I mean, I think my sisters are catching their last show in Cornwall, so maybe they'll get the cream of the crop.
Is that what they call the people in Cornwall? The cream of the crop?
I don't think so. I wonder if what's his name, MC Frost or MC Frizzy,
Dude,
what is
he's
his
been
fucking name?
messaging me lately. He is may I could probably get him on tonight. He really wants to come on my show. He's trying to invite himself back on my show
That guy was. I don't
because
know if
he
he was amazing or horrible. Is it somewhere in between there? One, a little bit of both. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
okay, what one, you want Frosty back on my show because he
That's what it
is
was.
putting a lawsuit against the Cornwall police because they blocked him on Facebook. Or two, fuck MC Frosty. Or three, who the fuck is MC Frosty?
I think it's mostly going to be threes.
Okay. Well, anyways, just to recap on who MC Frosty is, he ran for mayor of Cornwall, I believe it was in September and October. And in his video to run for mayor, it included him doing a rap song about Cornwall and also about 1 to 2 minutes of his landlord, some old lady, macing him in his own butthole. So that's the kind
Yeah.
of vigor that I want in my mayors. That's all I'm saying. I also want to
Eh,
see things burn down, so. He's
Edgy
a
wants it to take it one step further than crack smoking mayors. Edgy wants butt mace
I
mayors.
want butt mace mayors. Yes, that's right.
I mean, that's pretty hardcore. I mean, I kind of agree with you. If your mayor is tough enough to take the old bear mace in the pooper, then yeah, I'm on board. That's pretty wild.
How did we get to this situation?
It's
We had Rob Ford, who was smoking crack and speaking in patois tongues with crackheads. You know, he was a man of the people. And then it moved on to his brother, Doug Ford. And Doug Ford, he doesn't want to upset anyone. Oh, he just wants to make everybody feel okay, including all his donors who are locking us all the fuck down. Meanwhile, we have MC Frosty who's willing to do anything to become mayor. So, who knows where that will go, right? I don't know. I don't know where it'll go.
I don't know. If any of the 338 members of parliament were like, you know what, I'm going to prove to Canada how tough I am. I'm going to take some bear mace in my bunghole. I'd be like, damn, all right, respect. I have more respect for you than all other 337 MPs. So I'm on board. Let's do it.
All right.
That should be a politician's challenge. Will you bear mace yourself in the butthole for the people? That'd be a good one.
It's a bear mace minimum. It's a bear mace minimum, I would say.
The bear mace minimum.
We have a mix between 1, 2s, and 3s. So, MC Frosty, it looks like you might get a spot on the show. Maybe next week, okay? I'm not avoiding you, man. Please don't kill me. Well, anyways, let's give a little preview of what they might see at the Danger Cat show.
Now take it away, Helen.
I played this last week, but I might as well give people a little sneak preview.
Do it. Look at that flag.
Now take it away, Helen. Over here, Helen. Great job, Helen. Oh, my Helen Keller. I bet you didn't see me coming, babe. Thank you.
Rock on, sweet Edgy.
Unfathomably based.
Thank you. Yeah, I think my performance this Wednesday will be even more unfathomably based, if that's even possible. That was a tough crowd, by the way.
Was it?
Oh yeah, this was a rowdy fucking crowd. They were all drunk, and the whole front row was completely stoned. They didn't know what was going on. So, like, the host of the show was really trying to get them involved, and like they were just fucked out of their heads. There's a lot of hecklers at these shows too, and Uncle Hack and the rest of the guys are amazing at dealing with hecklers.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
I'm very surprised at how good Uncle Hack is for only having done stand-up for 2.5 years, because he started as a content creator. He's a fucking absolute natural, in my opinion.
Yeah,
his jokes,
and anybody who's, especially their roast battles, man. The roast battles are unreal. They're so good. But yeah, I mean, I've seen them multiple times. They'll usually give people a couple shots, right? Okay, you get to, yeah, you can chirp in here once or twice, and then you keep going. You just get the fuck out.
Yeah. Apparently, a bunch of people went to the Friday show in Guelph, and Sam Walker walked a bunch of people. He gave him like 3 or 4 chances. He's got the flashlight, so he'll come and he'll fucking point it right at their faces, and they think he's fucking joking because that's part of his like persona. But no, these people are being fucking disruptive, and like it really does fuck with a show if you keep heckling, like, and you're just messing up setups and punchlines and stuff. It does ruin it for the rest of the show. So there is a happy medium where a couple people throw out some good ones and you hit it back at them, but at some point you gotta throw the trash out, right?
Yeah, the problem is that sometimes whenever the hecklers are good and they get laughs and they get engagement, they start to think they're part of the show, and you're not. You're just a dumb drunk idiot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That made some funny one-liners. Okay, you're not the show.
Yeah, you don't need an IQ test to get in a Danger Cat show.
There's actually an IQ limit. It's 88.
Oh wow, that's a dirty one. That only the most esoteric of people will get that one.
That was genius. Or maybe it's 69.
Oh, that's the number we're going for. That's the number that everyone could get down with. The inclusive number. You know, everybody gets theirs off, right?
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Sam's flashlight's fucking hilarious. It's like, if you haven't seen this, it's I don't know what the lumens are on it, but you know those lights that are insanely bright. Like, imagine you're driving down a highway and some dickhead is coming the opposite way with his fucking Mercedes high beams on that are like, looking at the sun. Okay, that, but worse. It's worse.
Well, I didn't know because I wasn't being a heckling D-bag. So I could only imagine the fucking drunk bitches at the show that I was performing at in London.
There it is. Like, it's a 1,000 lumen flashlight. Colbert's mom's got it.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder they get so pissy after and they keep heckling.
Brett Forte is the one I've seen roast hecklers the best, though. He's done some insane, he's amazing in roast battles too. So
I actually didn't see him in London. I think he's still in Arizona at the time, but he's going to be at the Orangeville show tomorrow night. So really excited to see him. I've got some of my Orangeville friends too that are going to come see me. Fucking awesome. That's where I grew up, by the way, Orangeville. I went to school there. Rage says, I wanted to do stand-up, but I had another calling for terrorism. Well, it's never too late to put the two together. Although you might get kicked out of 109 open mics.
I mean, if what was that Hatepedia article? Weaponized laughter. Well, if laughter can be weaponized, then I guess terrorism can be funny, right? It's basically the same thing now. Being funny, terrorist. Wow, what's the difference?
Right. Well, IMCEs, ideologically motivated comedic extremists.
Exactly.
I feel like that best describes me. I'll take that label. Fuck.
Yeah. They can't handle the memes.
Just a reminder, everybody, we are live on Entropy, YouTube, and Rumble, and Odyssey. Though I don't know if that's working. It's always a crapshoot with that one. We have a donation on Rumble. M1 Dot is saying Rumble is supposedly not taking anything from Rumble Rants till the end of 23, so take my money and death the pedos. Okay, well, thank you for the $1. I'm sure I'll get 70 to 80% cents of that. I appreciate that. And yes, you could donate on Entropy as well. They do pay out on time, at least from my experience. So, yeah, if you want to donate to the show, feel free to do that. For my gas money to go to comedy shows to perform, or for all my preparation that I do here, or whatever else. I do stuff behind the scenes. A lot of you know, some of you don't, and you'll see in the future. But anyways,
I'll Edgy out, dicks.
Yeah, help me out.
You guys have money. Edgy
You're not dicks, but thank you.
Give Edgy money. Give him money now. He wants money. Look at this. Look at this free entertainment every Tuesday night. Give him money. I'll grift for you, Edgy.
Thank you. It makes me. I don't have a grifting bone in my body.
I know you don't. I guess
give me it. Oh, see, it doesn't feel natural, and now I'm just trying too hard. Fuck.
Yeah. All right, what do we got tonight?
Okay, yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, let's start with some people slandering the Dags online.
Oh,
now,
God.
I've been trying to avoid this as much as possible because it just seems like extremely retarded and not good for the brain. But then I saw this video that the chick, the horror campaign groupie, posted on Twitter. And it was just a very easy video to ratio. And just the things she says in it and the construction of this video is absolutely hilarious. Have you seen this one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, also North of Nothing, he made a response video, not to like everything she said specifically in this video, but he kind of dug into her in like a 15-20 minute long video on his Telegram. I shared it on my Telegram if any of you want to see it after, but it's great. He just roasts her for her supposed hypnosis degree. This chick that's talking shit about Jeremy and Diagolon. And it brings me back into the days like when I was a teenager and I'd watch stuff like Penn and Teller's Bullshit, where they were like skeptics, right? And they would make fun of always low-hanging fruit, but it was always really funny because it's really easy to make fun of like absolute medical quacks like horoscope grifters and, fortune tellers, mega church pastor grifters, because it's all very transparent if you can look at it from an outside lens and you're not swept in by what they're selling, right?
Yeah.
It's low-hanging fruit. And then after a while, you see how the powers that be use those kind of low-hanging fruits as a way to say, hey, if you're an anti-vaxxer, you're one of those people, and they try to tie you all in. But it's not all tied in. There are people who are fucking medical quacks. There are people who are like, oh, look at the stars. That means that you have whatever, look into your eyeballs. That's how I could assess what diseases you have. By the way, people in our community, I have talked to some people where they're like, oh yeah, I have this natural doctor that looks into our eyeballs and can assess what illnesses we have. And I'm just thinking, should I bite my tongue or should I say something about this? You should throw that doctor into a river and see if she floats, because that's a fucking witch doctor right there. And I don't know.
Does
if
she weigh as much as a duck?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you know.
I want to be nice, so I'm just like, oh yeah. I'm sure there's might be something to that. But come on, guys. Just because the jab gives you clots doesn't mean that the rest of this shit is true. I'm sure most of you know that. But anyways, let's look and see what she had to say. So she's a professional hypnotist, I guess. Now, what do you think about hypnotists? Is this a real thing? Does it have any credibility to being a hypnotist? But my opinion on it is if you talk to somebody for an hour at a time, you could provide some value to them. Counseling can be anywhere from $100 an hour to over $1,000 an hour, depending on who it is and what kind of information they're giving you. And of course, if you're talking to somebody who can be very suggestive towards you, then yeah, that could be worth something and that could help potentially. But
I think there's probably, hypnosis is definitely a soft science or art, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
There definitely is something to it, especially when you have a willing participant. So when somebody's already malleable, there's probably something to it, especially whenever it's the best example I can think of for this is I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but if you go down the rabbit hole of porn hypnosis, and what it has done to guys, it's fucking crazy.
Okay.
If you're really interested, you can go down this
sissy hypno. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, go down that fucking rabbit hole of what some of these guys get hooked on with porn and how it changes them. So yeah,
I've seen the meme and I've seen a BitChute video about how they're trying to get everybody addicted to sissy hypno, but I think the guy just had a problem himself. But that could be indicative of something that he was actually uncovering, because who knows?
Well, again,
a lot of things like mass psychosis, mass hypnosis. That's what the social media. Oh, sorry, that's what the mainstream media does by repetition in some ways.
Yes.
Right? They're inducing you into a trance in some way. They're using fear and other things and coercion as well, but also repetition. It does work.
Yeah, it's the willing participant thing. But maybe we should watch the video, but I've seen this and basically it sounds like what she's talking about is Jeremy's a good speaker. He's a captivating speaker.
Right.
And so he's hypnotizing people.
I do want to say one more thing about hypnotism too, though, because
sure.
I got into a hypnotism phase in grade 9 after they brought one of these hypnotist, these stage hypnotists to my school in grade 9, and the whole school was there, and they did the things, everybody's sitting in the chair and they're acting silly and doing whatever he's telling them to do. So I was amazed by that. If this is real, I want to learn this. So then I would play on my keyboard. I'd play songs and loop them, and I'd print out induction scripts, and then I would try to hypnotize my friends. And it actually worked on at least one or two of my friends. and he was doing all the things I was suggesting him to do, and it was absolutely incredible what that he was following along with it. And then one or two more times that I did it and I tried to escalate it, I had him like cleaning up the floor because he just killed somebody and the blood was all on the floor. But then I kept pushing it each time, and he ended up punching me in the face, so he had to stop because I was going a little too far with it. And the way he was trying to describe it is like, I was going along with it, but you were doing something, but you pissed me off, and I ended up punching you in the face. So it is weird. There's something to it. Look, but you can't just make people do things they don't want to do, right?
No, but you can, again, like, this is why, like, that term, I don't know, are we talking about hypnotism or are we talking about persuasion and manipulation and coercion?
Scott Adams.
These are all obviously real things. And we've seen it. Look at how easy people are to persuade. There's whether it's, what is it? There's the Stanford experiment, I think, with the prison, the Milgram experiment. There's all these experiments that, like, we know this, like, people are easily manipulated. So if that's what she means by I don't really know enough about hypnotherapy, whatever the fuck that is, to comment. But obviously people
soft
can be
science,
very malleable. Yeah. Like,
now I could just say something. You start at 0 at this video. It's just her and her cleavage. Why is the camera even facing her? Like, she added that in to show what she's doing. I don't get why she would do that, but
you could have told the truth and you didn't. And more of our guys had to die because you were too much of a coward to tell the fucking truth.
Okay, so
and
it
more
says,
of our guys had to
touch ear, raise voice, speak in paternal tone. It's called setting an anchor.
Yeah, he did. It's not just that he, was pushing his earbud back in.
I was talking about this with someone on the weekend where I was watching back my own stream, and every 2 seconds I'm like this, I'm like that, I go like that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like a tick because I don't have like a vape or anything else to do. So I'm always checking to push my earbuds in, and it's just how it goes, right? Raise voice, to enunciate and have some passion and speak in a paternal tone. So, I'm doing my hypnosis now. Watch out. Watch out. Son, you better listen to me, children. It's my turn to speak. Like, what? Very, very specific, like, criteria over here.
That people read so much into these little things, too. It's like, okay, apparently I have a habit of looking to my left whenever I'm talking. Like, whenever I'm, like, thinking through something, I'll do exactly what my eyes will dart to the left.
Is that where your handler is? And he's feeding you all your talking points?
I'm checking to make sure. I'm reading my board over here that tells the government tells me everything to say and do, right? Like, they read into these things. It's like, why do you always look to the left? It's like, I don't know. It's just a habit. Like, it's just, here, let me put it this way. You go on a stream on a live camera and talk for 3 hours, and I'll criticize all the little things that you do. Okay. All your little,
dude, you're gonna make me have a meltdown. Stop it. I can't handle all this
nonsense.
This psychoanalysis, and like speaks in paternal tone. Oh, you're afraid of daddy telling you what to do? Like, it sounds very psychoanalytically, right? Oy vey, don't listen to what your father says. He's trying to repress you. It's the Freudian psychoanalysis, right?
Yeah. Die because you are too much of a coward to tell the fucking truth.
Cult leader.
So people have this perception of who we really are.
And you gotta have the cleavage shot in there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
Yeah. It's all about her too, right?
But there's this perception around the population that they see this. They see dangerous people. They see dangerous, potentially unstable, like a monster is walking around their town. That monster loves you. He's your monster.
I love this narrative about the monster eating children too. Tip: it helps to speak in proper statements and sentences with proper sentence structure. Where, like, I don't know all the different terms, but there's like a predicate, there's like a noun, there's an action. I don't understand what this is trying to say.
That's who you go get when the other monsters show up that don't love you. They want to eat you. They want to eat your children. Do you know who stops them from eating your children? Our monsters do.
Tom Quiggin V4F also suggests every chance he gets that we want to eat our own children, eat the poor. All right.
I've never heard Tom Quiggin say that. I don't know. Maybe that is true. Maybe he does say that a lot. I don't know.
But we want to eat our own children and eat the poor? Or is eat the poor like another thought?
Dude, see, here's the problem, Edgy. We're analyzing this for substance, and the truth is there's nothing there. That's a huge, like, again, this is the inverse of what she is doing with this video. She has set out to find something, has found the thing that she wanted, and is now blowing this up into something that it isn't. Like, it's just not there. There's nothing to this.
Who's gonna eat?
This is just nonsense.
Does Tom Quiggin want to eat who wants to eat children? And are the children poor? Oh, okay.
And these people that lie.
I'm genuinely like, I want to know what's going on in this person's brain. Is it worth it to find out?
No. And put them in that fucking furnace. Have now tricked all the people that they did it for out of love for their own people. When you're a warrior, you know, what this in Rocky, right? Thought a war to fight. What's the warrior to do, Stallion?
He mentions Rocky, and then she says that he wants to be their Rambo. It's Sylvester Stallone. At least I'll give her that. She got the actor right.
This is fucking...
Now he will get into ego to convince you that you are lost, and he is your Rambo. Rage is more like a Rambo, if we're gonna go on by what the media has been calling him, like the disgruntled war veteran with PTSD, and he's going crazy, right?
Got a war to fight. What's the warrior to do, Stallion?
But this is Rocky, so
I can understand why people would be afraid of us. And a lot of these guys are lost. And it gave me a purpose again. You know, gangster for the bankers in the military. That was what I was doing. That's not really who I am in here. This is who I am.
I'd like for some of you teenagers that were under 20 years old that got a touch this morning, I want about 10 or 12 of you, if you would, to come up here quickly. I want to hear what God did to you. I'm going to quote you. Have you ever spoken in tongues? Would you like to be
I think part of the effect here is just like, is she saying that kid is that kid in the wheelchair?
I don't know.
Like, maybe it's like again, clone crisis actors. These are all crisis actors. Again, like, first he's the kid in the wheelchair, and Edgy, now
you're looking for substance. There's nothing there. This is the rambling ravings of a fucking lunatic. Okay?
There's a movie in here. If we could piece it together, I think this person may be a good script writer. Maybe we could hire her for Diagolon the movie or whatever.
Refilled right now? I feel something all over me. Do you know that? Go ahead, let him talk. Don't stop, don't stop.
Yo, you kind of be spinning fire though. Like, for real though. I've heard that they have like electroshock things going on in these churches to get them kind of in a more suggestive state, that they're more likely to do these things. Like, they feel like an electronic shock. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know.
The anointing's coming. Just a couple little more. It's just the Holy Ghost. I was afraid he might be getting out of breath, but he said he's not getting out of breath. He's under the power.
Speaking about reporting things to authorities.
Here's the final one that I missed. So I made a response that just ratioed the amount of likes by like triple or quadruple, with like 1/10 of the amount of views on it.
Yeah.
But I totally missed this part at the end because I only skipped through and watched like 30 seconds of it before I wrote that.
Speaking about reporting things to authorities, have you ever reported extremist behavior to authorities?
Yes.
Oh,
mic drop.
Fuck. Rage is a Fed confirmed.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a gotcha. These guys are fucking losers. There's, and again, there's, I went through so many stages on in the past week. This started last Wednesday, and I've gone from, what are they doing? Like, I don't understand what this is, to this is fucking dumb, to you guys are being really stupid. Like, this is nonsense, to, okay, now you're really starting to piss me off. Like, you, and like, you know, cause you guys are being stupid spurgs, to now today finally realizing that Roe is not just a stupid spurg. He's knowingly lying. He's being malicious. This isn't, he's not even doing this out of a sense of like, he thinks this is the right thing to do because he's an idiot. Like, we've gone through this before with other people who just don't understand. And they, like, you know, for what it's worth, they genuinely believe what they're saying. Roe doesn't believe this. He's a fucking liar. And I can give you a perfect example of this. He said, I should find the quote because I can.
Okay, yeah. Well, you do that for a second. I'm just going to push back on that last thing. We've said it. I know you've said it a bunch of times and others have. Like that clip at the end where he says he's reported on extremist activities. Like, yeah, that was the Lynx militia group that was openly posting on YouTube and trying to suck our followers into it. And then Rage said something about it. And that is typical protocol for any nationalist movement. That if somebody starts messaging you and trying to get you entrapped into something, it's your duty to report them, because if they end up doing something and then you have seen that and you didn't do anything about it, then you're going to be implicated in it. And we have always said we are not involved with any illegal or violent activities. It's pretty simple. So don't come at us with that kind of thing. Don't say, oh, I want to 3D print you a bunch of weapons or all this crap. We don't want that. We've always said that we're not about that. And that is the kind of thing that will sink everybody if you try to push that upon us. It's typical protocol. And I'm sure these guys know that, but they're full of shit.
Again, I thought yesterday I thought they were retarded, ignorant dum-dums. Okay. I just thought they had no idea what they were talking about. And like, you know, like I said, we've been through this before with people like fucking, I don't know, Phil Brown, or like, you know, there's other randoms that have come along and like, they think they know more than they do. They don't have all the information. They've made wild assumptions and there's no reasoning with them because they're morons. But yesterday, I thought that was the case with this, because it seemed like they didn't even know what Lynx was. So if you guys don't know, Lynx was they were referring to Lynx as a neighborhood watch group that Jeremy snitched on. No, that was what they said they were. They kind of framed themselves as a neighborhood watch group, but they're fucking in the woods, you know, doing military drills with ski masks on. Okay. And talking openly about armed insurrection. They made a public call to arms against the government and then started attaching themselves to all kinds of different freedom organizations. And then amazingly, shockingly, Jeremy goes, these guys are feds. This is absolutely fed behavior. And I hate that too. I don't like throwing around the term fed loosely. Again, like a lot of people are calling war campaign feds now. Like, I don't think so. I don't think they are. I think they're just, I don't know what they are, honestly. Maybe at this point, because the way they're going about this is entirely malicious. It's not just stupidity, it's malice.
Sure, yeah. Lee Stewie just sent me this.
That's a good one. Good meme, Lee. But regardless, they seem to think that Lynx was just some benign thing. And so Jeremy goes, these guys are, like, he assumes these guys are feds. If they're not feds, well, that's going to suck for them because they were really stupid. And, you know, unfortunately, if you're going to go around doing shit that is going to get other people blasted with, you know, insurrection charge or sedition charges, yeah, you're a moron. But unbelievably, the RCMP is informed about this group. The RCMP does nothing, arrests no one, investigates nothing. It gets no media attention. It gets no attention from anti-hate. Nobody pays attention to these guys except for they came on, you know, our radar. And so Jeremy reacts and says, this is obviously a setup. And as soon as he tells the RCMP, do you guys know about this group?
Are you sure though? Because I do see something here.
They just disappeared. They just
They
disappeared
did
as soon as they got
disappear.
called out.
But look at this. RCMP sees firearms in BC following probe into video by self-described militia.
Oh, I didn't. There you go. I didn't even know about that one.
The Lynx movement. Liberate your neighbor. Liberate your nature.
These are the. This is retarded nonsense. Okay, this is the kind of thing that will get everybody fucked.
Right. Well, I remember when it happened. It was like, "Hello, fellow patriots! Like, we are going to start a militia. Like, who wants to join and stuff?" And
there you go. Even they describe themselves as a militia. That's illegal in Canada. I don't agree with that law, obviously, but what I'm saying is you can't just go around starting militias and not get that kind of attention. And then whenever you're starting militias and you're trying to involve and push that shit on other groups, that's concerning, because you're not just, again, it's
called entrapment. And whether you know it or not, you're entrapping all these people into it. And it's not like they weren't looking at these people already. Like, they're following everybody else. And then they're going to, like, the law enforcement is going to see that. And then they're going to think that you're a part of that.
I have here, though, what made me realize today that Roe is not just an idiot. He's a liar. Like, this isn't misguided altruism, like stupidity. This is malice. And it's as simple as this. So this started with, he was responding to Transplender. Alex Cargill has just been annihilating these guys. If you follow Transplender on Twitter, he's done a great job at being like, you guys you're not providing any substance. You're just making wild claims. And then when people ask about it, you deflect and say they're stupid or they're a fed or they're blind. And it's like, dude, I'm asking you for information. You say, like, you're acting like you're the arbiter of truth, this great bastion of knowledge and understanding. And then whenever people are seeking to understand, you're shutting down. So that's weird to begin with. But anyways, so Roe responded to him. This was Alex asking Roe to provide an explanation or to go on a stream with him and talk this out so that he could understand where he's coming from and maybe, reconcile, because Alex likes both of them. Alex Transplender, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking to the third person, but, and Roe responded, "I'll do it on my own time," which is like, no, man, you don't just come out like, full fucking regalia. Like, I'm just going to start smearing the shit over everyone. And then whenever people ask for an explanation, you just respond, "I'll get around to it when I feel like it. When I can find the time to do it, I'll do it." Fuck you. Like, that's not an acceptable response. So I said, so you're going to make absurd claims, refuse to address them, but eventually when you feel like it, you'll get around to developing a coherent explanation for your actions. And he just, he doesn't actually respond to anything. He just said, "Your leader has an ongoing information sharing agreement with the Department of Public Safety." He admitted it. And I just asked him, like, what proof do you have for that? And he relayed it back to the video, that video. So why is that important? It's important because he went from Jeremy said that he did talk to the police about this one organization that seemed very sketchy, right? He jumped from that to Jeremy has an ongoing agreement with the Department of Public Safety. That's a lie, man. You have no proof of that. And here's what I'm getting at is, that's not you analyzing the video and interpreting it in a way that is, makes sense with what you're hearing and seeing. That's not the same. You're making assumptions now, and the assumptions are what you want to be the case because that fits your actions. You're not trying to explain to people why you believe this thing. You're making random claims. Basically, you just said that he is an active RCMP informant. That's nonsense. You have no proof of that. Your only proof that he's a snitch or informant is that he did contact the police about this one incredibly sketchy organization that miraculously disappeared shortly after it was, discussed.
And also trying to poach his followers.
Yeah. On top of that, you're fucking Mr. Again, Mr. Big Brain, individualism is the only thing. Don't collectivize. Shits on every group, aside from his own collective, which is, again, not ridiculous. All the other collectives are bad. My collective is good. That's what you are. You're a collective of individuals, you fucking morons.
Right. Well,
that's the same thing that everybody else is doing. You're banding people together in a certain direction. That is collectivism. That's a collectivization. You may not like that label, but that's what it is. Anyways, so that was malicious. He's seeing what he wants to see and just claiming that it's true with no nuance, nothing. His conclusion is Jeremy is a Fed, full stop. There's no nuance to it. And again, too, saying that, he shouldn't talk to the police ever is retarded. Okay. I hate, you guys know, I hate the police. I might have railed against the police harder than anybody else in Flat Earth. I fucking hate them. Okay. But if I see a rape going on, I'm not, well, that's a bad example, because if it was a rape, I'd probably try to stop it myself.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if
a suspected child predator or somebody who might have CP or something like that, you're not going to tell on them?
Well, again, it's like I saw a guy run out of a shop with a gun and a fucking bag, and the owner came out and was like, "That guy stole my money." And I'm just gonna be like, "I didn't see anything, bro. I don't snitch. Fuck you."
Snitches get stitches. So I'm going to go and attack the person who does say something about it.
So obviously, are these the same examples? No, but obviously the point in bringing up that example is like, okay, well, even if you're somebody who's like, I don't want to talk to the police, or I don't talk to the police, to say that you will never talk to the police is fucking retarded. Of course you would. Apparently Roe wouldn't. I literally asked him this. I was like, so if you knew someone was selling child porn, you wouldn't say anything because that's snitching. And he responded basically, yes. No,
I'd go kill them myself.
Yeah, like some nonsense, bravado about how fucking great he is. But the reality is, obviously, there are times where even if you don't like the police, you need to, it's the right thing to do to talk to them, right? And so obviously there are examples in which it is acceptable to talk to the police or tell them something. Or for example, should we have not talked to the police officers that were leaking us information during the convoy? We shouldn't have talked to them because they're police, right? Like, no. So obviously there's times where you should talk to the police. And so that becomes, what is that line? Well, Rose seems to think that what Jeremy did is unacceptable. Apparently, those people that talked to the police about Gabriel Wortman, that was wrong of them. That was snitching, bro. That was, this guy's got RCMP vehicles and multiple illegal weapons and has a history of violence. And I know all of these things, but I'm not going to tell the RCMP because I don't snitch. I'm tough. No, you're a fucking jackass. You're, again, too, they go around labeling everybody else as things. And it's like, you guys are just edgelord douchebags. You think you're amazing. You're fucking comic book nerds who sit on the internet shitting on everything else that everybody's doing. You're losers. You have nothing to contribute. What organizational capability do you have? What capabilities do you have to actually help affect real change, other than just, again, shitting on everybody else that is trying to do something? And again, too, this notion, they have this retarded notion that's like all collectivism bad. Okay, that's because the way we beat this is by becoming atomized individuals with no allegiances to one another, that are basically weak, isolated entities that can be picked off one by one. That's how you beat this, right? You beat this by being a fucking loner. No, what that is, that's a massive cope. Okay. Anybody who's saying, the only answer is radical individualism is a do nothing retard that is either incapable or too lazy to actually organize some kind of effective group or, resistance. And so instead of admitting that, they just say everybody else trying to do it is shit. And then they wrap themselves in their moral superiority of, I don't associate, I'm an individual. No, you're just a loser. You're a loser.
Individualism versus collectivism. I think is one of the biggest psyops that we're facing nowadays. And people like Jordan Peterson are pushing it for the conservative ink, for the establishment conservatives, to say that as a conservative, that means you're like an individualist, and that collectivists, both on the left and the right, they are the enemy, and they are like everything that's wrong with society. Meanwhile, they are collectivizing their group of individualists. It's completely paradoxical when you think of it, right?
Again, yeah, no, you nailed it there with the one point of I forget what I was going to say there. What did you start there with? You nailed something though.
Well, Con Inc. with Jordan Peterson. Yes. See, I'll type it in right now. He'll probably have a YouTube short. I remember seeing this. I was scouring his channel, looking for like just the last things that he was saying after he had a particularly bad take.
Well, there was a hilarious irony to what Roe said yesterday. Roe said that the Save Canada kids are the kind of evangelical Christian nationalism that people like the Daily Wire and Jordan Peterson are pushing. What the fuck are you talking? Again, there's so many examples I've seen in the past 3 days that highlight how fucking ignorant they are and how uninformed they are about everything, literally everything. The Daily Wire pushes the kind of radical individualism, that libertarian type, don't identify with groups. That's what they push. They push the same shit you do. It's a very subversive thing too, because it's like, it's okay. Basically their strongest take is, well, all these people that are collectivizing along whatever, if it's a racial line or a religious line or an ideological one or LGBT or whatever, right? All of these people that collectivize, they're wrong. And we shouldn't collectivize either. So their whole thing is subversive.
You should bring a knife to a gunfight. That's what they're saying.
The whole thing about the Daily Wire or the Big Con Inc. is subversive in itself. And you know that. But then you're preaching the same ideology that they do, which is radical individualism. Don't collectivize. Don't think of things like, Christian nationalism bad, white identitarianism bad. All of these things, like, you don't want people organizing along these lines. It's like, that's very subversive.
That's why Jordan Peterson has a message to Christians, a message to Muslims. But where is the message to Jewish people? And then when somebody just simply brings that up on his Twitter, he calls them a malevolent, dark tetrad, anonymous demon troll, and says that they're sullying, I don't know, whatever. He spurgs out. And that's the grift right there. And then, meanwhile, he goes on and talks to Bibi Netanyahu on his YouTube channel, talking about how Palestinian people did nothing with their lands before, so they were fair game to just completely take over and take over their land, right? Is that not collectivism amongst Israelis against the Jewish people? But anyways, I found this quick clip. I don't even know what he's going to say, but I bet you it's going to be something very subversive. It's Jordan Peterson, why collectivists don't like individualism. Okay, what's going on?
I can't hear, but...
Okay, that one doesn't have sound, but individualism.
Of tribalism. First, the way out of tribalism is not to never join a tribe. You actually have to join a tribe as you mature, right? Because what happens is, first of all, you're an infant, and then you have your parents to make a relationship with, but then when you move from your parents, you have your tribe, you have your group. Maybe it's the music you listen to, it's the gang you hang around with, whatever. You have to be socialized into the tribe. You have to, because otherwise you stay a dependent infant. Okay, but now you're socialized into the tribe. Well, is that where it ends? It's like, no. The next thing to do is differentiate yourself from the tribe while still knowing how to behave within the tribe. Well, that's the call to individualism. And that's, I think, what the West got right, is we figured that out. It's like, you're more than you have to be a member of a group, because otherwise you're not socialized. You're not good for anyone. You have to be able to play on a team, man. You have to have team loyalty. Okay, but that isn't where you should stop. You should take the next step and become a fully developed individual. Obviously, what
Well, that's obvious right there. But
that was great. That's a great take. That's
Yeah.
like, to me, that's like good Peterson. That's accurate. That's true.
Free
Like
as it's
Okay, now we have sound on this one.
supposed to, and put us on the proper path. You see, the thing about the collectivist types at the universities, you know, they're very interested in shutting down free speech. But you have to understand that it's not because they oppose the views of the people that they're trying to shut down. It is that, but it's because they don't believe that there's such a thing as free speech, because they don't believe that there's such a thing as individuals. They believe that you're just the avatar of your group, and that whatever your opinions are conditioned, socially constructed, and the reason they're socially constructed is because you're born in a certain hierarchy of identity, and that hierarchy of identity has conditioned every single thing you say, free as it's supposed to. And
Okay, I didn't really pay attention to what he said because I found actual an actual good documentary that has been shadow banned by YouTube.
Radical individualism that's predicated on these deep stories that characterizes the West. It's the right answer.
In short, to foment the rebellion of youth against traditional morality and authority structures in their society, something we can see has diffused through our society today.
This political ideology of his is inextricably enmeshed with his self-help advice, whereby he admonishes people to clean their rooms and set their life in order. According to Peterson, those who do not adhere to his political ideology of radical individualism fail to do so due to suffering from a pathological personality defect of some kind, stemming from a refusal to clean their rooms and bear the cross of individual responsibility. The average Peterson fan is totally incapable of separating the, in itself benign, self-help advice from Peterson's political ideology. The result is that those who follow his ideology end up in a perpetual state of masturbatory self-improvement, perceiving those who cooperate together in groups based on some set of shared normative values as being psychologically damaged and morally inferior. They end up perceiving any criticism of Peterson's politics as a personal attack on their efforts to improve themselves, and as an attack on the man whom they see as having been instrumental to their self-improvement or salvation. All of this closely matches the patterns of a cult, with Peterson's followers acting based on strong emotions rather than logic, to staunchly defend their charismatic cult leader and his ideology of radical individualism.
So we're the cult, right? Because
Look,
we have a cohesive group over here. And it's like this is our musical taste, as Jordan Peterson put before. You know, this is how we have identified ourselves as individuals. Like, we are following that first video we saw with Jordan Peterson with his radical individualism, but we're taking the step further in some ways.
Look, there's obviously individualism is important, but the kind of individualism they're pushing now, there's two sides pushing it. So the left's version of individualism is this very superficial, like, your attributes. They push like, they think that individualism is blue hair and waving LGBT flags. Like, they think that individualism is, having fucking facial piercings or having, chopping your dick off. Like, that's like, it's very focused on the exterior, the superficial, like what I can see. And then on the right, you have this kind of radical individualism that Peterson is pushing, which is, it's better. Don't get me wrong, it is better. It's like a spiritual one. It's like, like, again, the cleaner, get your life in order. That's good. But again, Peterson talked about this, and I think it gets lost on a lot of people. The whole point of what he was saying about getting yourself in order was so that you can then expand. Okay, so he used to talk about this all the time. It's like these types at the universities, these 18-year-old students, right, that are coming to these events and screaming and fuck you and trying to shut down free speech and all these things. They can't even get their lives in order. Like, and he had a really funny one too, where he's like, I started holding my lectures at 8 a.m. and all of a sudden the protest stopped. Right? like that's funny. Like, that's true. You're right. They can't do anything as individuals anyways. They're very good at this top down collectivism though. And I think that's the huge difference between something that I would advocate for, and something that either the left or the right would advocate for, or at least the radical libertarian right. I don't know what you want to call it. That radical look, but Jordan Peterson wanted people to get themselves in order, so that whenever they then went out into their communities, they were an upstanding individual that had something to offer because their life was in order. So now, the circle spreads. First you get your life in order, then you go out in your community and try to make it better, and then the nation, and then, the globe, right? That's kind of the idea that he was pushing, at least originally.
Right. But then once people picked away at him and they were asking the tougher questions, that you naturally come to as a nationalist, that's when he starts spurging out in his true colors show, and then you see what a gatekeeper he is. So I found 100%. The part that shows where we need to diverge from individualism, because although the idea of individualism is a great thing that we have as the West, and it's part of what's made us great, right? We have these people, these artists, these architects, these great thinkers that were in their own way individual thinkers. However, there's a greater group cohesiveness that had to be there in order for them to thrive within this society. And when you push that upon Jordan Peterson, that's when he starts spurging out, specifically with mass immigration and demographic replacement. This is something he will completely deny, and it's like he's trying to temper the concerns of people who understand that this is a reality, and then trying to gaslight the people who really want to push back against it at the same time.
Apologize and deconstruct white identity.
This is only like 2 minutes, and I have it on 125 speed, but it shows very specifically where he flips and why it's hard for the normie to understand what is actually going on here.
Psychopathologize and deconstruct white identity. Peterson frequently uses his position of authority as a psychologist to psychopathologize white identity. More than once, he has referred to whites who desire to organize together to protect their group interests as pathological. At other times, he likes to chastise whites for committing the sin of racial pride, deeming it as well to be a pathology. During a talk, Peterson was confronted with a quote from Canadian historical sociologist and professor at the University of New Brunswick, Ricardo Duchesne. In the quote, Duchesne argued that for the underlying spirit of individualism to be preserved in the West, European people themselves must be preserved, arguing that individualism was a trait that seems to be inherent to European peoples.
And that's the thing. Culture derives from a biocultural basis. Like, people cannot be taken away from their biology. I'm sorry, but it's a fact.
It's hilarious because they argue this stuff for a great example of this would be Indigenous Canadians, right? The Indigenous tribes. Like they argue that if you try to rip them out, it just doesn't mesh, right? You can't just transplant somebody into a different culture and then they become that. It doesn't work. There's something very deeply ingrained there that you can't just, and it's traumatizing when you do it, obviously. So yeah.
That's why people like Ricardo Duchesne are against like the everybody must assimilate if they want to come here kind of arguments, because that is not really human nature. And yes, there is an ability for people to adapt to their environment or to adopt values of other cultures. That's totally fine if people want to do that, and we should allow that kind of freedom. However, you can't go against like the very structure of biology and of society and just deny reality in that sense.
Yeah, Devin Stack had a really good tweet the other day, and I think it was something along the lines of, I find it very amusing that conservatives have no problem talking about how these trans men are masquerading as women, and that a gender is more than skin deep, right? It's not something you can just put a costume on and become. And there's obvious biological differences. And then he said, look at how they react though when you tell them about biological differences between races. All of a sudden that is like, whoa, that's too far. Like, yeah, obviously there's biological differences between men and women, but between race, that's crazy, man. You can't talk about that. That's too much.
Right. Well, of course, we all know that the biological differences, they only go from the neck down. It's not even, we don't have spirits. We're not Christians, right? We don't have spirits according to the nihilists, according to the atheists, right? Except, doesn't that mean that your brain is a meat machine, just like the rest of your body?
Yeah. There's one thing I want to jump back to, though. Like, I don't know what you have pulled up here, but I just wanted to.
Oh, it's just showing that that they could tell out of 3,636 subjects, they got everybody right on their. They accurately describe people based on their genetic cluster membership, to identify their self-identified race. So, it's not biological at all, though. Race is just a social construct. Right?
Yeah, nonsense. Obvious nonsense. Again, just a ridiculous lie. But and again, like, and then you say that, and then they react to that, like, well, what does that imply? Nothing. It's literally just the truth.
Right. Well, they're running all professors like this out of universities. That's something I'm very against. Like, you have there's a guy who got a Nobel Prize for inventing the DNA structure. I think it was the helix structure. I forget his name, but he's now in his 90s, and he's corroborated like the science of race and IQ and all this stuff, and they've stripped him of all his titles. And likewise, they've done that for plenty of other professors. They're rewriting histories now that they're all dying.
Look at Chris Langan, like the smartest man in the world, is talking about this stuff too. It's like anybody who's not who's intellectually honest can admit these things, and it doesn't need to imply anything. It's like to quote Benny Sheckelstein, facts don't care about your feelings. That's literally all it is. It's like these are just facts. But again, there was something I found really interesting about that, because I'd never seen those tweets from Jordan Peterson that you had playing in the video there. The pathology of white identity or white, racialism or European ethnic pride or anything like that, how that's a psychopathology. That's very interesting, because the first people that did work in that thread was the Frankfurt School that Jordan Peterson apparently objects to so fondly.
The bloody neo-Marxists, right?
This is literally out of that. That's you could go find probably word for word what Jordan Peterson said.
Yes, you're right.
Word for word, yes. No, like that's the pathologizing of white identity is the psychopathologizing of white identity. That's literally out of the Frankfurt School.
The authoritarian personality, right?
Yeah, I don't think they might not have used white identity, because that wouldn't have been the way that they looked at it then. I don't think they would have, probably.
But it developed into critical race theory and all these succeeding ideologies that are all based and cited off of Freud, Adorno, all these early, practitioners.
I think they use the word nationalism, and they're referring to European nationalism, which in the 1930s and 40s is white nationalism. Like, so yeah, obviously it was ethnic nationalism, ethno-nationalism at the time. Of course it was. So when they say European nationalism, what they're referring to, it's the same as saying, whatever, white identity.
And you were in university recently, like past decade. So was I. I was in film studies. I encountered this kind of stuff all the time. I never resonated with it. Just deconstructing things as racist. In a movie, whenever you see a female, like whenever the camera's on a woman, it's misogynistic in some way, indicative of the time that we're just creeping on a woman, the male gaze. There's all these kinds of ridiculous theories. In fact, I think it was in my world cinema class where there was entire lectures saying that we cannot talk about the facts of the Holocaust because it's the worst thing that ever happened, and it's like a religious right, perhaps.
Yeah, that's exactly how they react to it. If you say anything about it that even doesn't, that it's not even necessarily a claim. If if you question an aspect of it, that is blasphemy to these people, right?
That was literally the point of the lecture that that I had to endure. Yeah. Well, let's see how Peterson spurgs out when confronted with something as reasonable as what we were just talking about.
Concluding that Europeans must therefore take pride in their ethnic identity and heritage as a means of self-preservation, and therefore as a means of preserving the spirit of individualism itself. Rather than addressing the actual premises and conclusion of Duchesne's argument, Peterson went on a tirade about how ethnic pride is sinful and unacceptable, casting scorn upon Duchesne and other whites who dare to take pride in their heritage and culture.
That's nothing to be proud of. That's something to tremble before, to take on as an ethical burden, and not to wave a flag for how wonderful you are that you happen to have the same skin color as some of the people who thought that up. It's not the right response.
Peterson's chastisement of Europeans who take pride in their heritage and culture is based on the absurd assumption that any who do so are trying to literally take personal credit for the achievements of their ancestors.
It's like, I don't feel pride about that. I feel like I have something to live up to. That's not the same thing, man. And so these right-wingers in this, it's like, look what we've done. It's like, no, it's not you that did that. That's something, man. You gotta have your act together before you would dare to say, well, that was me. It's like, yeah, sure it was you. Yeah, right. No.
The reality, of course, is that pride in one's heritage, culture, and civilization is not in fact hubristic pride, but one of pride of ownership, an emotion that engenders the very deep sense of responsibility and appreciation that is necessary to preserve those things, the very feelings that Peterson claims should be felt in place of pride. At some point, Peterson declared that the goal of what he calls the radical right, his disparaging term for European people who wish to cooperate with one another to protect their nations from certain destruction, is to cultivate unearned identity and the glories of the past. What Peterson is doing here is in fact paving the way for the most extreme forms of egalitarianism, since one cannot control their DNA or their heritage, nor can one control their environment. The person one is cannot be earned. This is the same argument that is used by those who argue for equality of outcome. For example, they will argue that since intelligence is either largely determined by genetics or the environment, it is an advantage that is not earned, and therefore measures must be put in place to mitigate that unfair, unearned advantage. What Peterson is actually saying is that whites have no right to their own identity based on their heritage, since they did not work to earn who their parents or ancestors were.
You're using your unearned
privilege. Peterson wanted to say unearned privilege, referring of course to white privilege, but realized his error and began racking his brain for a synonym.
The unearned gift that's been granted to you as a source of personal pride in your accomplishments due to your skin.
And there it is. He's come full circle, and he's completely contradicting what was his whole claim to fame in the beginning, which was debunking myths such as white privilege.
I think there's... I don't know how I react to that, because I agree with him to a certain extent, but I find it weird the way he phrased that, especially in the beginning. So he said, I don't view the accomplishments, like I'm paraphrasing here, but I don't view the accomplishments of my ancestors as something to be proud of. I view it as something that I have to live up to, which is fair. I mean, I think you can be proud of your heritage and your history, obviously. So I have no problem with someone saying I'm proud or I take pride. Like, that's fine. But I also agree with him in the sense that there's a lot of these. Okay,
I think I know where you're going.
A lot of these fucking white nationalists, white identitarians, whatever you want to call them, they are parasitic. They don't actually embody the ideals they say they uphold. They're not somebody. Look, if you want to be proud of your race, okay, and I have no problem with that, right? I have no problem with someone being like, I'm proud to be white. I'm proud. I don't care. That's fine. What I do object to, though, is if you're going to say that I'm proud of my race, you better fucking be someone that your race should be proud of. Okay. So like, if you're a piece of shit that's, like Peterson said, like reveling in the glories of the past, of things that you had nothing to do with, right? While you're doing nothing yourself, then yeah, you're on the wrong path here. You're not trying to uphold that greatness. You're just living in it. So to an extent, I get what but obviously I don't think that's what he actually meant. So
I think there's a middle ground.
The benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, you are given the benefit of the doubt, but what he was actually trying to do was trying to, like, the question was from Ricardo Duchesne, from his book or whatever, asking, do we have a duty to uphold the demographic majority that made all of this individualism happen in the first place? Don't we need some level of collectivism when it comes to race and culture in order to uphold this individualism? And then he goes on all these different distraction kind of rants to say that people are using unearned privileges and gifts from the past or whatever else, right?
I was going to say this earlier, but on the topic of individualism, though, I just like doesn't necessarily, it kind of relates, but I think I kind of got into it too. There's this idea that collectivism is bad from the right, or from especially the libertarian right, let's call it that, or the libertarian wing, which is honestly, libertarian ideology has become very mainstream. Not the hardcore line of it, but the essence of the philosophy has become very much the conservative mind, right? Because it's closer to, classical liberalism, and that's where conservatives are shifting to more. I mean, it's not even classical liberalism at this point, but anyways, it works well in the current framework, right? The kind of things that Jordan Peterson pushed, the kind of things that Big Con Inc. is pushing now, it's very much libertarian-esque. So I do think that's appropriate to say conservatives are kind of becoming libertarian in a way, to an extent. Anyways, they both have this idea, right? And it's like, no, you're both right and you're both wrong. The problem with the left is that they're, like I said earlier, their individualism is superficial and it comes from the top down, okay? The collective decides what kind of individuals are acceptable in that collective, right? And if you don't adhere to the collective, you're pushed out. And we've seen this, like the best example I can think of is gays against groomers. The left has no problem being like, yeah, we love gay people, we love them. And then as soon as they go outside the dogma of the religious, the religion of woke, they're ostracized and pushed out, and now they're pushed to the right, right? You're not part of the collective anymore. From the right wing, there's this idea that any kind of collectivism is bad, and that's obviously subversive. But what dissidents are pushing is strong individuals that are coming together to form a collective. That is grassroots that is proper collectivism. It's not something that somebody pushed out there like happened with the left, where you had this like kind of idea that like all of these people, like look at the pride flag now, and it's everybody's included except who? White people.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So it's like they've created this kind of like top-down collectivism that kind of brings people under its banner and then encourages them to be individuals under the parameters that they've already set. What the right, or especially the dissident right, is trying to do is get people to be strong individuals that collectivize under shared values and push back against this thing from a voluntary perspective. Nobody's saying you have to. We don't, it's not a matter of, I mean, we do have to, in terms of like to win this, you have to help. You have to start fighting, right? So yes, we do have to collectivize, but nobody's forcing you to, and nobody puts you in this position. They're asking you to join. They want individuals to come together and form a collective. That is, and again, so that, like, I don't know. This is what these people who are saying never collectivize are like, you're sowing the seeds of your own destruction. And I don't even think you realize that this is exactly what they want. They want you to be an atomized individual.
I think this just all goes towards the false paradigm of collectivism versus individualism. Both things have their pros and their cons in their own right. And it's more so whether something is true It's based in reality. It has cause and effect relationships that you could clearly delineate, and it all works in some kind of cohesive framework, right? Like, I think that collectivism works when you have people working in a homogeneous society and you have people on the same page, but you have some room for outliers so that you can have more creativity. You could have more innovation that is not just thinking out inside the box. Like, so, for example, in a place like China, where, like, yeah, their IQs may be higher and they may be better at some forms of industry or with math and science and stuff like that. But look at what Europeans have created throughout the centuries, throughout the millennium, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What works?
Again,
what works? And what is reality? And they're just trying to confuse us with all these false dichotomies, and also just destroying what is actual information. Like, for example, the biology of human beings. If you take that out, you're ripping out like the mat from under. You're ripping out the foundation, so we can't even analyze what is a man or a woman, or what race is, or what culture is, why people commit crimes, why certain groups are a way that they are. Then you have all these different theories like cultural Marxism that come in to fill in the void.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think the only thing you need to, what groups are allowed to collectivize? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting right there? Everybody's allowed to have again, there's straight up, in the UK, there are groups that are basically trying to preserve British indigenous culture. I forget the name of this group, but their whole thing is like, we're becoming a minority in our own country. Our culture is dying. And so basically, like, they're trying to do, like, create protective laws, and they're being labeled as hate groups because they're trying to protect and ensure that their own culture will survive in their own country. This isn't like, you know what I mean? Like, this would be no problem. If this was Canada and it was indigenous, there'd be no problem. If it was black in America, it'd be no problem, right? As soon as it's British indigenous culture, which is, again, obviously it's white. And because it's white and Christian, that means it's unacceptable for it to be a collective thing that is preserved. Like, that should explain a lot right there of what things are allowed to try to protect themselves, and what things or what groups are allowed to try and protect themselves and what groups aren't.
And they'll try different tactics in order to break apart all the different groups. They'll say, what, like Jordan Peterson, what is white? Like, white were the Irish weren't white. So, like, your theory is just exploded into dust, right? But no, there's different categorizations that have different parameters, right? There's Caucasian, there's I don't know what the other classes are for that, but then there's Europeans, and then there's different ethnicities within European, and everybody is kind of on a scale, right? Obviously, migrants from North Africa might be better somewhere close to them, with people that are more similar to them, right? And same within Europe, same within different places in Asia.
Obvious, that's true,
right? There's a spectrum of people, and yes, you could have maybe some people coming from a completely different culture and fitting in, but you're not going to be able to do that in mass numbers. And when you rip out the biology of human beings, and you just confuse everything, then people don't know how to differentiate and make these distinctions.
I think a good way to look at this too is just run through their logical. Okay, do humans need some kind of collectivism? Obviously they do. Okay, so the smallest form of collectivism would be a family. Then it goes up to whatever town, village, city, region, state, nation, right? And again, the very concept of nation has been bastardized in the last 60 years to mean something that it doesn't. Now it means geographic area determined by international borders. That's never what it meant.
Right.
That's again, another leftist modern myth about what nations are. Obviously, they were peoples.
Magical soil dictated by a constitution, a piece of paper.
Yeah. And so but it becomes, okay, if you remove, basically, if we take whatever Peterson's premise or some of these radical individualist premise, their idea is, no, ideology is what matters. Race is not important. Religion doesn't matter. None of these things matter. What matters is ideology. And it's like, okay, well, now you have a problem, because what lines are you supposed to collectivize in? If religions are supposed to mix, then what is the ideological, the collective? What is the thing that everybody agrees on? This is the benefit to having these collectives. So it's like, if you're going to mix it all together, it becomes exactly what it has become, which is a identity politics war, as opposed to having, look, identity politics doesn't exist in homogenous nations, does it? Is there an identity politics struggle in China or Japan? No. So this very thing that you're opposed to, which is identity politics, is derived from this endless multiculti, endless stream of multiculti that you've pushed on all these other nations. This wouldn't be a problem if you hadn't done this. And now it is. And now you want to say the solution is not to end identitarian politics or identity politics. It's to eliminate certain people's identity politics. Certain groups aren't allowed to have it. Why? Because, I mean, in the case of the Western world, those are the nations that have been subjected to this. Mm-hmm. So you don't want the in-group, the indigenous in-group, the group that the nation belongs to have a say in this anymore, because obviously if they collectivized along, ethnic, national, religious, cultural lines, if they actually started collectivizing along those lines, it would be very damaging to this idea that, we can all just mix it. No, you're trying to destroy the dominant group in the nations where they're supposed to be the dominant group.
It's multicultural rights, so-called. And when they say multicultural rights, they mean equality of outcome over equality of opportunity, of course, right? And they deny the majority group, that is the of the host nation, they deny them the multicultural rights. And they never really say why they do that in all the literary and all the academic works that promote this, that are astroturfed by the government and by all these academics. They don't say why they are suppressing the majority rights.
And again,
we all know why. It's because they're destroying European nations.
What they want
that
is
to the Frankfurt School and other.
A rootless, cosmopolitan, radical individualist society in which no group is able to any longer collectivize against them. That's the whole point of attacking Christianity and Europeans in their own nations. They're trying to dilute it so that there's no collective opposition to what is being done. And so, this is why I find it insane whenever I see, these fucking idiots at War Campaign with their radical individualist take as they're talking about, how do we stop this? Your whole thing is no, we have to just be individuals and let them do it. You're literally advocating what they want, you moron.
Well, and this is what happens when you come into it last year, right?
Again, it's
you come into politics last year without not knowing the meta politics of what everybody has been arguing about and getting censored over on the internet for the last 5-10 years.
What groups?
Decades before, right?
Yeah. What groups am I allowed to associate with then? What collective lines am I allowed to draw? Because I don't want to be a radical individualist. I want to live in communities and cities and towns of people that have a shared, cultural understanding or ideological understanding.
And to know that there's going to be reciprocity when you go and talk to people. They're not going to be parasitical and then take what you're giving to them and hoard it amongst their own group and then strategize against you. That's what you don't want. That makes a low trust society compared to a high trust society, which is what we want to thrive for. It's positive collectivism.
They want again, it's absolute nonsense. I don't know where they think this comes from. Their idea is if we were all just, radical individuals, everything would be fine. No, it would not.
That would be the most selfish.
Yes.
situation imaginable.
And again, too, so what happens is, and as a former libertarian, I know something about this because I used to argue these points. And what people will say is things like, well, if everybody had the shared libertarian values, then all of a sudden things would be, so a collective. You're advocating your radical individualism utopia, right? So like, let's take Free State, New Hampshire. Okay. They're radical libertarians, right? They all want, or not all of them, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring as many libertarian-minded people into the state of New Hampshire as they can, so that they can have this kind of libertarian, stronghold where everybody, or at least the majority of people, agree. You're collectivizing. You're individuals that are agreeing. We all agree on this thing, so let's come together and collectivize. Do you not understand? Like, think about it for a second, you fucking morons. You're literally either you're advocating for total anarchy, like rabid, selfish individualism, or you're arguing for a kind of collective that is based around this concept of individualism. It's one or the other, and either way, you're either a moron or a hypocrite. Which is it? Because if you want radical, selfish individualism, that is not good. That will benefit no one. That would be that's like dystopian anarchy, right? Like anarchy in the bad sense.
That's a good term. Dystopian anarchy. I like it.
That's what you're advocating for.
Anarcho-tyranny is what they're trying to push upon us by, propping up the people who are going to commit petty crimes and make the cities unlivable, but then go after people who are political dissidents who are trying to make positive change. But sorry, what was the one you just said?
Well, it's a dystopian anarchy or anarchism, where it's just like we're all going to be individuals and it's every man for himself, and I don't give a fuck about my community or my nation. Like, that's not my and this is what Roe advises. Like, that's not my responsibility. I take care of my own kids, my own family, and yes, you should. Obviously, I agree with you. Yeah, you should take care of it, but you have to do more than that too. You don't exist in a vacuum, you dick. The ability, and again too, like this is the hypocrisy that came out of war campaign in the past couple of days was mind-boggling, because whenever the state was encroaching on their their selfish desires to just be an individual, a little island to themselves where they don't have to care about anything, and that's literally what Roe advocated. This is something that he said on the Plaid Army stream whenever he came on, was, I don't care if the government taxes me 50% and what they do with that money, as long as they leave me alone. So you don't care about your community, your nation. You don't have a people. You don't believe in any kind of a sense of camaraderie. What do you believe in? Nothing. Yourself. That's what you advocate for. You're selfish. Okay. Or to give you the benefit of the doubt, let's say it's not that, then what you're suggesting, and that's fine. Like, I don't care if this is what people want to suggest, it's fine, is we all need to push to be, this individualist ideology of like everybody, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, like basically libertarianism. Do what you want. If you're not hurting me, you're not encroaching on, my rights, my freedom, then fair game. Which is fine if you can get everyone to agree on it, but then you've just established a collective. All of these people agree on the same things, or at least on the same basic principles. So you're no different than any other collective. It's just the kind of collective that you want, and you're going to shit on, Christian nationalists who want to have a collective of Christians, or you're going to shit on whatever white nationalists or any kind of racial, identity. So what's the difference? The difference is you think you're smarter, you think you're better, and you think your way is the only way. In which case, you're not really good at what you're preaching, because you don't believe in individualism, because individuals have the ability to decide if they want to be part of a collective. That's called voluntarism.
Right.
Clearly, you don't agree with that.
Yeah, I think there's good parts of each ideology. Like, libertarianism isn't a thing. No, it hasn't become such a prevalent thing because it's such a joke. Now, in its practice, given to its most like its furthest extent, hardcore autistic libertarians. Yes, that's a fucking joke, because there's so many flaws when you take it to its logical conclusion. You can't make everybody go by the non-aggression principle if other people are wielding power within the government and they're putting their boot upon your neck. But like you were saying, voluntarism for individuals to be part of a collective where they could share common values and create a high trust society. Now you're mixing all these different elements of ideologies together to make something coherent, close to the truth, that they don't want you to know. They want to separate it and get you intellectually masturbating over it.
I did this when I did a kind of a slam on libertarians a while back. I brought this up. Libertarian ideology stems from, revolutionary era classic liberalism in the United States. At least, I mean, there's European libertarianism is more social libertarian. It's like left wing, like libertine.
Right. You're talking about like Ayn Rand and objectivism?
No, not necessarily Ayn Rand, but it's a very French movement. I think libertine is the term. It's very much a more left leaning kind of libertarianism. I'm talking about the American sense. Okay, I understand that libertarians are, if everybody on the planet was libertarian, there'd be 7 billion different versions of libertarianism. Okay, I understand that, but the gist of it is, it's at least in the modern sense, in the North American sense, is rooted in American revolutionary classic liberalism, right? Property rights, individual freedom, voluntarism, free association, the classic Enlightenment era.
All very good ideas and concepts to understand.
Yes, exactly. Yes, they are. And the funny thing that I think people lose whenever they're looking at these things is they think that this applies to a multicultural society. And these ideas did not exist in a multicultural, they didn't come up in a multicultural. It's very easy for me, because the crux of the libertarian kind of ideology is we can agree to disagree. If we can agree on these basic principles, we can agree to disagree on other things, right? So a great example of this would be Christianity, okay? So why does the American, why did the founding fathers not have a specific sect of Christianity as the national religion? People love, especially leftists in modernity, like to say that, well, it's because they didn't want the idea of a concept of God in the state, or they were like some kind of version of secularism. That's not
right.
It
Some separation of church and state that they pretend
that's not it at all.
Was foundational when it really wasn't. It's one nation under God.
They had multiple sects. They had Catholics, they had Anglicans, Protestant, Lutherans, Puritan, all kinds of different stuff, right? And so the Calvinists, like they didn't want this. If they chose Christianity, if they made Christianity, which Christianity, right? And then all of a sudden you have this infighting between different groups. You're giving one sect of Christianity power over the others. And that is not, I mean, look, this comes out of the religious war era of Europe, right? They're like 100 years out from the end of those wars. So nobody wanted more infighting between Christians when they're forming. Anyways, this is in the weeds. What I'm getting at here is, but it's very easy for a Catholic and an Anglican to agree to disagree. Okay. It's a little bit tougher whenever it's a Muslim and a Catholic. We're going to agree to disagree. Okay. It gets a lot tougher whenever it's a Catholic and a rabid LGBT Marxist. Okay. It's starting to get harder to agree to disagree, isn't it? This idea of individual liberty. It's like, well, you're both going to end up encroaching on each other's ideas of what individual liberty is if you want to have some kind of moral framework in society. You're going to be fighting over that because you can't agree on the basic principles of what the moral framework of the society should be. You're too different. So yeah, libertarianism could work great in a homogenous society that has a shared, religion or, heritage of some kind. But whenever you're getting into, we're going to have, a bunch of groups that represent 10 to 15% of the population vying for their own principles and values. all of a sudden that idea of agree to disagree becomes a lot more difficult, doesn't it?
And each one of these countries doesn't operate by the same libertarian principles. They all operate under collectivism.
Precisely.
And you can't beat collectivism with libertarianism. Sorry, it just doesn't work. There's some groups that they're not biologically or culturally inclined to have libertarianism at all. You see their countries, they always resort to some kind of socialism or communism even.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work.
No, of course it's not. And so again, that's their fight. Their fight is, we got to beat the collectivists. And it's like, you're just going to end up forming your own collective in the process to beat it, no matter how you do it. And if you don't, you're going to lose.
Check out these collectivists that we're up against. How do you take something like libertarianism and then you put it up against something like this? Whoa, what did I just do there? Have you seen this at all? This is the Tennessee 3. So, in the House of Representatives in Tennessee, after that tranny shooter shot those Christian white children at that school, instead of looking into the ideology, the tranny manifesto that they wrote, and publishing that to understand the motives behind it, instead, this guy, Justin Peterson, there was another BLM activist who's also representative in Tennessee, and some 60-year-old white woman who's also a Democratic representative in Tennessee. They all had a spurg out in the House, and they all got expelled, except for, I think the white woman just barely made it because she didn't freak out as hard as the other guys did. And yeah, they just...
Yeah, one of the other representatives that was voting on it, because it was one vote. She was one vote away from being ejected, and she wasn't, because one of the representatives was like, well, she didn't use the megaphone. That was the difference. Because she didn't use a megaphone in the Tennessee chambers, then she was allowed to stay. But yeah.
Now check out the kind of rhetoric they're throwing out there. So they're basing the way that they speak off of the radicals of the 1960s, like Martin Luther King, and they're just completely adopting, I don't know, you have to see it yourself. This is insane.
I believe it is a vision. People who've been ostracized, coming to the well. See, I see white folk and black folk. I see queer folk and straight folk. I see rich folk and poor folk coming from the back to the well of demanding justice right now. Not tomorrow, but right now. Justice right now. It is this movement. Right now. That's going to change this country. It's this movement in this moment in time that's going to change the country. And I'm so glad. Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, I'm glad. Oh, I'm glad. Yes, I'm glad. I'm so glad. Yeah.
How do you even argue with this? Like, he's basically like, for one, it sounds like he's a preacher speaking in tongues almost. Just jerking his body around like he's James Brown. Fucking completely copying MLK, but taking it to an absurd level. Like, this is a guy who's black doing blacker face. You know, AOC, when she was pretending to be black when she went down south, that was pretty shameful. That was extremely transparent, but...
Wait, have you seen the videos of this guy before his
Yes, I have that loaded up.
Okay,
let's just finish this.
It is a celebration, clearly on the steps there in Shelby County, the Shelby County Commission that just again voted back.
And the funny thing is that not most white people, but a lot of white people, and especially white liberals, will think that this guy is a genius. Wow, he's such an intellectual because he talks like that. Probably because they're subconsciously intimidated. I think.
I'm not intimidated by it. That guy's a clown.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people like us can see through this, obviously, but I think a lot of white people, they'll be like, wow, he's so profound, simply because they're indoctrinated to think that Martin Luther King, who his speech was written by his handlers, let's just say that, but they get that kind of trope in their mind, and they think that's like the epitome of intellectualism in politics. But anyways, let's see what this guy used to be like before he adopted this jerky James Brown, Martin Luther cringe persona.
Now, we just came across a video he made at a prestigious liberal arts college in 2016. Now, check out if you can spot the difference between Justin then and Justin now.
How can we represent all voices in a conversation? I wanted to do this by partnering with organizations from the Boone Democrats to the Boone Republicans. I want to bring together different voices, dissenting voices, voices that may be more liberal or more conservative, in order that we can reach a point of sort of the radical middle.
Seemed like the NRA and gun lobbyists might win. But oh, that was good news for us. I don't know how long this Saturday in the state of Tennessee might last. But oh, we have good news, folks. We've got good news that Sunday always comes.
What? Now, we just came across...
What the fuck is going on there? Have things changed so much that, like, this was the norm before, that, like, the black guy talks white in order to, get where he wants to go in politics. But now, since it's been proven that white people will cower to somebody who has this black power collectivism kind of mentality, that they just brazenly go for it without any care about how ridiculous and transparently phony that they're being.
It's like watching Carlton turn into Will. That's what that was like.
I wrote a little bit of a speech myself, I have to say.
You have one?
Yeah, I used to take lessons back at the Justin Trudeau School of Blackface. Ooh. Now, I know he's been doing this for many years, like a decade ago. I don't know how many times he's done this, but even he doesn't know how many times he's done it. But yeah, we used to go to this school. Justin Trudeau would be there. He would get in full body paint, full black body paint. He'd put on the afro. He'd put a banana in his pants. He'd act like a monkey too. Man, I thought it was a bit much, but what do I know? I'm not the one who became prime minister, right?
You're not black, Edgy. You can't talk about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But, I'll try to do my best. This is a blast from the past. But here's what I think that Justin Peterson's speech would be like if he were being honest. Now, I have a dream that one day trannies can go into schools and shoot up white Christian children, and that the authorities will conceal the Tranifesto that contains the ideology of the mass shooter, and instead, we will divert the attention away from the excesses of radical trannyism, and we will divert attention away from the rampant black-on-black crime committed with illegally obtained guns, and instead focus on gun control laws that will penalize responsible gun owners. Yes, and of course, we will somehow blame it all on white people. And then we will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty. We are free at last. How's that?
I think you did blackface better than that black guy did, honestly. That was pretty good.
Right, maybe he should have gone to the Trudeau School of Blackface.
Agreed.
Maybe we could get our collectivism up and be more persuasive if we adopt some of these kinds of things, right? Here at Dagalon, we throw slashes. No, we can't. We gotta make up our own, right?
I can't. Who said this in the comments? Your fave Karen, Rose commentator chick would have a field day with this. Yeah, I can't wait to see her breakdown about Edgy's blackface hypnosis techniques, his brainwashing that he's doing with his speech.
You will suck my Edgy D. Psychoanalyze that, bitch. what do people say? Edgy. Okay, we got a lot of LOLs. Barack on black. Fucking white people. Okay. Yeah, the chat's lighting up. Oh, we got some super chats from before. Thank you, Uncle Kenny. He's saying this is for your preparation. H. Oh, that's a pretty good one. Thank you for another $5 on Rumble M1 dot. Scarecrow saying, I hear rage in my head, telling me to send money to Edgy. Well, thank you, Rage, for that telekinetic hypnosis that you just committed upon Scarecrow. Appreciate it. Appreciate you both. Anything else on Entropy? All right. Well, where do you go from there? Fuck.
I have no idea.
Don't worry, I have a ton more shit.
I guess what else you got for tonight? We should probably bang out some topics here, I guess, eh?
Yeah. Well, this is a quick one since we're still on the topic. Well, we're not on the topic of Canada anymore, but before we get off of Canada and fuck. In the thumbnail, we have Elon Musk versus CBC.
That's what I was kind of hinting at.
Yeah, I have like 5 more things about Canada. So let's start with that. That's a good start. Fuck, we really went into that individualism versus collectivism.
Yeah, I think it was worth it because it ties into a lot of this stuff. And I was honestly, if I didn't come on stream with you tonight, I was planning on doing one after, or I didn't know if you were going to do one for a bit there. So if you weren't going to do one, I was going to jump on and actually talk about that topic. So
it's important.
It's been in my mind.
It's one of the main things that differentiates the grifters or the establishment conservatives away from the real dissident right. And I think one of the main things is mass immigration and how the establishment is relying on that to change our societies forever in an irreversible way. Yeah, and if we can't stop it before it's too late, then it's game over.
I mean, maybe to finish off on that topic, like that is key with Ricardo Duchesne there, that yes, he's not wrong, because it's hilarious to me. This idea of this, whatever you want to call it, libertarianism, radical individualism, voluntarism, that is a very, very much a European rooted ideology or, concept. And what happens whenever you dilute all of the places where that concept makes sense? It doesn't exist anymore. You're like these people that are advocating this radical individualism while, accepting, multicultural diversity, don't understand that they're literally destroying the thing. Like, look what's going on in the UK. Do you think that whenever, look at Brampton, do you think Brampton is going to embrace your individualist ideologies anytime soon? You think Birmingham is like Birmingham, UK? You think they're gonna what are they, 60% Islamic now or something like that? You think they're gonna be embracing your radical individualism anytime soon? Do you think it's gonna get better as those percentages go up, or do you think that they're just gonna keep Islamifying your nation? There's just something to think about there, you radical individualists. They don't
hear me out.
They don't.
There's this thing called the non-aggression principle, and it just solves all of our problems. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out there, but
the principle of do nothing until the boot is on your neck, literally. But as long as it's only figuratively on your neck, then you can ignore it.
Right. So here we have the CBC. I believe it started with them kvetching about how they're less than 70% government-funded media. That's what it originally said, right? And then one commenter, just one anon poster, wrote under it, I think, Elon's post, and said, oh, so they're 69%? And then Elon's like, that's a great idea. And then he just changed them to 69% government-funded media.
I kind of talked about this last night on the after party, and it's like there's actually a lot to take away for such a superficial topic. There's a lot you can take away from this. The first one is, I think the way Elon deals with these people is hilarious and entirely appropriate. I think it's the left and the establishment vetch about how he's a child, like a basic. What did Mark Uritson, I think, was the one who said, or no, it was Brittlestar. Fucking that dink was like this. If a
you mean this fucking asshole?
Yeah. If a
sorry, I have a hate corner for all these people who responded. This is exactly how I'd run Twitter if I was 12.
Yeah. No, you don't get it. Elon, first of all, Brittlestar, you're talking to Elon Musk is way smarter than you. He's way more successful than you. He's way like everything about him is better than you. And you're
the internet's favorite dad. The internet's favorite dad, unproven. Yeah. Unproven, meaning he doesn't know if he's actually the dad or not. Zing. You know what'd be funny, Brittlestar, if we had a sketch where you were strapped down and we were electroshock torturing your ball sack, just blowing it up. I mean, that's a comedy sketch, right?
Edgy got dark real quick.
Sorry, I was thinking about ways to torture this guy in my head.
The D in Edgy D stands for dark sometimes.
Yeah, that was not a threat. I'm just thinking of I like thinking of hilarious ways to torture people just in my mind.
Even darker.
Yeah, this isn't going anywhere good.
No, to get back on it here. Yeah, man, he is treating you like he's 12 because that's how you deserve to be treated. Do you think Elon talks like this or does these kind of things whenever he's in actual like important business meetings? Maybe, but if he does, it's because he doesn't respect the person that he's talking to. The reason Twitter responded to the Associated or there's the Canadian Press, the Canadian Press's request for an explanation as to why they were labeled government-funded media was a poop emoji, which is the exact appropriate response. What do you mean? What, like, again? Why would you call them state-funded media? They literally are. They literally are. What are you talking about? That's exactly what they are. How is this controversial? So like that's, I mean, right off the bat, yeah, that is exactly how you should respond to these people. They act like they deserve respect, and they don't. They're fools. Like they're clowns. That's how you should treat them.
Big agree. And even Pierre Poilievre, of course, this is an easy dunk for him because his shtick is, I'm going to, toe the establishment line on most things, offer some, economic policies that make sense to the conservative voter base, right? But then it's just like stand-up comedy jokes, basically, about being woke, and it never goes any further. So this is perfect, right up his alley, right? Dunking on the CBC.
I haven't watched this video yet.
You're gonna
can't
laugh,
wait,
man. She's seething.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre just called CBC News, which is one of the biggest news outlets in Canada, propaganda, which is an outright lie. And he said it after Elon Musk labeled that,
right there,
which is an outright lie.
Is it though?
And he said it after Elon Musk labeled CBC News government-funded media, despite the fact that it's a crown corporation, arm's length from government, and completely editorially independent. Poilievre then cited Elon Musk's label as evidence that CBC is, quote, not news. And he fundraised off of it. Attacking the institutions that hold power to account just because you don't like them is insanely irresponsible. Without reliable news that has editorial standards like CBC, politicians go unchecked. And that's bad for democracy. I'm honestly gobsmacked that any politician from any party would go this far. So I suppose I shouldn't be surprised since Poilievre released an entire press release about me just because I asked him questions he didn't like. What do you think of all this? Conservatively,
I mean, I don't even know where to start.
I don't either. I don't even want to.
I don't want to go into it, especially after my electro ball shock comments about brittle stuff.
I could break. This is something you could spend. This is one of these weird things where it's like a 54-second clip that you could break down for an hour about how retarded it is. So because CBC is a crown corporation, arm's length from government, that means it's independent media. No, absolutely not. You asinine cunt. clearly they've towed the party line about everything. They are a megaphone for the government. Now, that's not just the liberal government. They're a megaphone for, if it's a conservative government, they just repeat whatever the government is saying. They don't actually question anything the government is saying. And if they do, it's like superficial, you know, I don't know what you'd call it, meanderings around the controversy. They don't actually dig into anything. So no, they're not independent. They are 69% state funded. Again, too, this idea that independent means independent, not 31% independent, not, 30%. It means you're not receiving funding from the government. If you're receiving funding from the government, you are literally government funded media, are you not?
I mean, 69% is way more than someone who's getting 0, and that's infinite advantages, pretty much. And then you go to people like us, who are thriving despite being banned off of everything, despite being persecuted, written in articles under our real names, getting doxxed. Like, the difference is of a huge magnitude.
It's also part of the thing that's hilarious about this is the way the establishment and the left react to stuff like this is they react to these things like they have been hit the way dissident voices have been hit. Like being slapped with a government funded media label, which is 100% accurate, is somehow equivalent to, Elon Musk being like, your propaganda, you're not allowed on Twitter, which is what they did to many, many, many right-wing voices over especially the past, 7 years. Like they react to these things, these little slights, like it's somehow the equivalent, like they're being oppressed, which is, par for the course for the establishment left. Everything I don't like is oppression. And so again, Elon Musk actually had a very, I was listening to Red Ice earlier. He had a really good take about AI. And I think it applies to this too. It's like, he said, political correctness is a lie. It's lying. That's fundamentally what it is. Political correctness is a form of deceit. It's avoiding using the truth because you don't want to hurt feelings. And in essence, that makes it a lie. You're trying to avoid confrontation.
And almost in a way, it's not political. It's like polite correctness, right?
Well,
you're trying to be polite to spare feelings, and when feelings are the currency, when feelings are politics.
I think the way that applies here is that they're mad about, this isn't political correctness. This is just blatant truth. Like this is the exact opposite of the things that they despise. So they love their little, white lies and often just outright lies. But whenever somebody exposes the truth, that is unacceptable, right? Their aversion to the truth is shocking. And so they really don't like this, and that's the fun part of it. Don't get me wrong, this is fucking hilarious. I love it. I love this, but I also didn't really like how I saw conservatives react to this news, or again, I think it was very calculated by Pierre Poilievre to do what he did when he did it. I think Elon Musk was going to do this regardless, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Like Twitter was going to label CBC government. They'd already labeled CBC that. They'd already labeled Russia Today that. They'd already labeled NPR that. Like, did you really think that CBC was going to avoid that label too? I don't think so.
No, yeah.
Pierre, very calculated move by Pierre. He gets a little W, right? Because he's been taking nothing but L's. At least from his own base, right? This is the other thing. He's been taking it from both sides, just getting absolutely pig roasted by the left and the right. By the right for being a little bitch, and from the left for all their criticism is retarded. But it doesn't really matter what he does when it comes to the left. They're going to say the same things. But the right was really giving it to him too. And what a wonderful deflection from all of the controversy that's being pushed at you regarding the trans stuff, or mass immigration, or your weakness on COVID, or your treatment of Christine Anderson. This is a very convenient time for you to just be like, hey, I don't like CPC. Crowd goes wild. That's all it takes.
The funny number. Ha 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 ha. Did Elon Musk respond to Pierre? Did they have like an... So he didn't even get Daddy Elon's attention, and Elon responds to a lot of people.
I think Elon probably did see what Pierre said.
Right. Yeah.
Because it went so viral, it got pushed, and the timing of it seems like, okay, yeah, Elon took note of what Pierre had said. I was like, you know what? Yeah, they are government funded media. Fuck them, and applied the label to it. And but again, this idea that somehow a win is, oh God, man. There's no better example of how demoralized conservatives are in this country than them. I literally saw a bunch of them saying things like, this is the best day ever. What a total victory. It's like, dude, it's literally just Twitter telling the truth. You guys are acting like Twitter telling the truth is some kind of grand conservative victory in this country. Dude, the left is indoctrinating your children. They're literally trying to outlaw right-wing thought, period. And your idea of a victory, and they're succeeding. And your idea of a victory is Tweeter man made funny thing on Twitter. Oh my God.
It's a pressure release system, right? They're allowing them to blow some steam off, think like they're winning, and reaffirm that Pierre is their guy. And if they just vote conservative, that the system has merit to it still. And it doesn't. It's not going to work.
Here's a good way to put it, I think. What this is owning the libs. And owning the libs is funny and it's entertaining. And, we all get a good kick out of it. And, we do it all the time. We do it a lot. It's fun. It's fun to dunk on them. It's fun to point out their, retardation. We've been doing it for years. We've been doing it for a decade. And what achievement has owning the libs succeeded in? What has it accomplished? Literally nothing. In fact, while we keep owning the libs on social media and in YouTube videos and, just with memes and shit like that, yeah, we're owning the libs and on, with jokes, and they're owning your fucking kids.
They've captured the institutions, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's academia or the government, they have it all. And you have little pockets of social media. You have your, obviously, like ghetto zones, like Telegram. And then now we have a bit of Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And
you could put it another way too here, which is, again, how many companies? I'm starting to really hate the saying "go woke, go broke."
Oh, well, it's not true. Yeah,
it's not true.
All these companies are owned by the same shareholders, like BlackRock, Vanguard. At the end of the day, so there's a reason why they keep promoting it. It's all part of the greater agenda. And if one company does a little worse, they'll just throw the money around amongst them. It does not matter, and it never did. Gillette never fell out because they, demasculated men with their razor commercials. No matter how much the Styx Hexenhammers or even Tucker Carlsons of the world say that it destroyed them. No, it didn't.
How many times has Netflix, been subjected to a hashtag boycott Netflix?
Dear white people, cuties for pedophilia. They're still on top of the world.
You guys have owned Netflix, I don't know, 24 times at this point for their nonsense. What's coming out? Black Cleopatra. That's what's coming out. They don't give a fuck. So if you still have a Netflix account, you maybe, like, again, put your money where your mouth is, or at least, don't put your money where it shouldn't go. And again, look, obviously that's not working, but the point is, like, you guys are still supporting these companies. A lot of you are. Look at Disney. The Disney boycott started like a year ago. Okay. And it had what seemed to be an effect on its stock price for a short period of time. If I'm not mistaken, its stock price has since recovered. And now they're hosting Pride Nights at Disneyland. They don't fucking care. They don't care how you own them. It doesn't matter to them. There is no go woke, go broke. It doesn't. Look at Bud Light. They lost $6 billion in 6 days. Yeah, they'll recover it by the end of the year. I guarantee it. because morons
And
are
you
stupid
talked
and they
about it
forget.
nonstop. Bud Light is cemented into everybody's mind. That does them way more than whatever damage it did with trannies or whatnot.
I heard people talking about boycotting Budweiser products. It was either a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever they rolled out this fucking Pride beer, a rainbow Bud Light can. That's at least a couple years old, I think, now. And everybody was talking about boycotting it then. What did that do? Fucking nothing. Like, this idea that these are victories is nonsense. And it's
what is a tangible victory when it comes to consumerism? You know, there's go woke, go broke. Obviously, you have your own communities that are more self-sufficient and they make their own products that are actually good for you, and you sell it amongst each other, and you kind of share your skills in a way where you provide this for me, I'll provide that for you. But definitely getting away from the ESGs, the environmental social governance that these companies all share, right?
I'm just sick of this idea in general that, again, yeah, the Bud Light memes were funny. I made some of them too. We got to stop acting like this is a victory. I'm guilty of it as much as anyone else. You know, you revel in these minor accomplishments of, like, you know, again, what is it? It's owning the libs. Haha, we did it. We own the libs. What did that do? Literally nothing. And that they're fine with that paradigm. They're okay with it. You want to just keep owning them? Fine. They march forward through the institutions and slowly restrict your ability to even own them more and more. And you're laughing at, you know, funny Bud Light meme. I get it. I'm as guilty as I make the memes. Okay. I understand, but it's like, we need to shift away from this idea that these are somehow victories. They're not.
What about companies who are anti-woke and supporting them, like, but bigger companies though? Because obviously we should be making our own companies and selling stuff amongst each other, positive stuff that is going to help each other. But you think of something like Red Bull. I think the CEO or the owner came out against diversity or multiculturalism as a whole, like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, you rarely hear things like this, but that could be a start. You know, there has to be at least companies that want to capitalize on those markets, on an anti-woke market. You know, obviously there's My Pillow with that fucking guy. I forget his name. Mike Lindell, and he has a multi-billion-dollar empire. But we're thinking for things that are better than My Pillow, obviously, right?
Yeah.
We have to have people in the institutions that are going to cooperate in that sense and not cancel people and give sponsorships for people who want to make entertainment like we're making, right?
I think part of that is part of it. I mean, I'm not saying
we can't completely disassociate from where all the money is coming from.
No, of course
not. But at the same time, they're going to be like, oh yes, here, take some of our money. Just make sure you could talk about all these things. Just make sure you don't talk about these topics. And usually it's going to be the most important ones, right?
It's just like, okay, I could do this right now in the chat. How many of you are drinking a beer right now or a liquor that is made by Anheuser-Busch, Carlsberg, Heineken, or there's another one. There's like 5 big ones. Go look up the 5 big liquor companies. If you're drinking one of you're supporting this shit. Okay. The hilarious, I mean, I talked to this before. Marjorie Taylor Greene is throwing Coors Light in the back of her trunk and being like, I bought a real American beer. Google Coors Light Pride. It's the same. They're all the same. So how about either stop drinking or buy locally? I personally, I would prefer people fucking stop with I got into this a bit last night. I'm so sick of Canada's drinking and dope culture.
I heard your rant last night.
I'm so fucking sick of it. Everybody's high and drunk all the time and wondering why nothing gets done on our side.
No, big agree.
Most people spend at least 2 nights a week numbing themselves and then fuck up the other 4 days of the week because they're hungover and shit-faced. I'm so sick of it. I don't object to people, you know, letting off steam once in a while, but this fucking, it's a ritual, for God's sakes.
You know,
and
guilty of it as well.
You.
Guilty of it as well. But
I know we all are. Believe me.
Understanding it and knowing it and having a plan to push forward, because yeah, being hungover for a day, just think of how much momentum, even if it's just 6-7 hours of that day that you're kind of groggy, think of how much momentum you're losing if you could have kept building off of positive, constructive momentum, whether it's through physical activity, keeping your brain sharp all that time. Momentum really counts for something.
Look, it's like, imagine if, just think about how many people are in the freedom movement, right? Now, how many of them are getting high and drunk, however many nights of the week, however many hours of the week are being wasted high and drunk, okay? And imagine if they took that time that they get high and drunk, and instead of engaging in that, they were doing something productive. We don't have fucking time to be drunk and high all the time. Okay. Yes, I understand. Blow off steam. Yes, there's special occasions. I do this too. My birthday, you know, certain, like I had a couple beers a couple weekends ago, right at this event. Yeah, that's great. But I'm so tired of that. It's become people's ritual. It's become their church.
Which one do you think is worse? The dope or the alcohol?
It depends on the person. It depends on the person.
What about as a whole? For all of Canada, would you think?
Dope is worse.
Why would you say that? Now, obviously, it's a generalization. Each person has their own thing, right?
Because I'll say this. I know a lot of alcoholics that are incredibly functional. There's a long history of highly functional alcoholics, or people that drink. You know, a lot of people that drink regularly are highly
It is more
productive.
Historically significant. And I will say that drinking, although the hangover I find is brutal and it's debilitating, sometimes when you're on the ascension, you feel like you can really get things done. And like it kind of numbs you in a way that you're saying, let's fucking go. And our forefathers, they were doing all their business deals, and they would trade with the Indians and with each other while they were drinking. It was like a ritual. So the country was kind of built upon it.
Yeah, I just think that in general it's become this thing of like, again, a ritual. Everybody gets drunk and fucked up on Fridays and Saturdays. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, the only time that they have to do activism to get engaged is on the weekends, because they work full time. So they've got you in this cycle where you work all week, and then you're tired, or you want to blow off steam, so you get drunk and high, and you spend your weekends fucked.
This sounds exactly like a really famous Bill Cosby stand-up bit, where he's like trying to comprehend how people work their asses off all week just to destroy themselves on the weekend. And it's true. Like, if you're stuck in a 9-to-5 in the rat race, and you want to make something more of yourself, you want to improve your community, this is the only time you have, right?
This is another thing too. There's a comment in the YouTube channel here that I want to address and I don't know your personal situation, that it's here to help spread the light 420. Okay. Don't look at me. I work hard labor and come home and hit the bag and work out. I'm high the whole time. It's the individual. Yes, it can be, but I would propose a just a thought here, which is that a cope? Are you as productive and focused and clear, or is that something that you've been doing so long that you don't even realize that you could be a lot better than you are if you weren't high all the time? I've seen this so many times with people who claim like, oh, I'm just as productive when I'm high, and then whenever they're not, they're way more productive. It's a falsehood that it's a crutch that they're using to justify it. I don't know. It could be true, because I genuinely do believe, there are people like Mark Emery is a great example of this. Mark Emery is high out of his fucking mind all the time, and
by the way,
gets shit done. So
that's the Prince of Pot, and he was a candidate for the PPC here in London, where I'm from. And yeah, he goes and talks to everybody and does activism while he's extremely baked. For his 60th birthday, he posted how he's going to do the 60 bong hit challenge in 24 hours. Like, you're not Mark Emery, though.
That
likewise,
would be my point. And look,
it's
I'm
like,
not saying you're not, though. I'm saying this idea that
not this guy. I don't know this guy, but
yeah, exactly.
In general, right?
Maybe you're right. I don't know. I'm just saying that I've noticed that before, that people are like, it's not me, it's the individual. Like I can do, yeah, you probably can do all of your stuff that you need to. Obviously, if you weren't, that would be a problem, right? But are you your idealized self when you're high all the time? Are you even yourself anymore? You're just high all the time.
I feel like I was influenced by the Joe Rogan kind of mentality, where he does jujitsu and he lifts weights and does all these things and writes his best jokes when he's high. And he'll like openly proclaim that and talk about doing other psychedelics, DMT and all this stuff. And then same with Kevin Smith, but the filmmaker who's written and directed all his own movies and started as an indie filmmaker. And these are two guys that are promoted by like the alternative media. But at the end of the day, when you realize it, these guys were like 30, 35, 40 when they started smoking weed full time. And they were already established. They already had everything there for them. And they're probably exceptional in the sense that they were able to get there in the first place. Well, most people are not like that.
No. And another thing here too is I think some people feel personally attacked. Good. I'm glad you're like, oh shit, this is kind of, is he talking about me? Maybe, I don't know. But here's something. If you're somebody that is high every day, like when it comes to weed, can you stop for 3 months? Can you do that? If you can't, then that's a problem. If you can't,
you're not adaptable. If you can't
exist without it, that's a huge fucking problem. Okay. So it's easy to say like, oh, I don't need it. Like I just do it. I enjoy it. Okay. Then stop doing it. Can you stop? Something to think about.
I would say about weed too is there's a lot of little decisions that you have to make every day in order to make things improve drastically. Like tons and tons of micro decisions, and you don't know how much you're actually slowing those down. And I feel like weed really impairs when you're trying to make radical changes where you haven't done something like before and you need to learn something new. I feel like weed could be fine if you're doing the same repetitive kind of tasks and you just need to get through it. It's not really impairing you in that, and I get that. But when you're actually trying to make radical change in your life, that's when it really impairs you. I don't know about other people, but
there's another fucking cope here. Particularly when I don't care. I genuinely don't care. Edgy asked me which one is worse. They're basically the same to me. I view them as like no different. The guy coming home and drinking 4 beers after work versus the guy who comes home and smokes 2 joints. I view that as the exact same thing. It's a numbing technique. But another massive cope that I see all the time, particularly from the weed bros, is it helps me think. It clears my mind. It makes me see things in a different perspective. Like it's this spiritual, frou-frou kind of approach. Like somebody said, and again, pretty sure you got to be high as fuck to have a conversation with a burning bush. Oh, so it's a magical spirit drug. So does that mean you should do it all the time? That's such a cope. It's okay. It's okay to do because it has these positive benefited effects. Yeah, it may I should couch this because if you're a cancer patient, yeah, 100%. I understand the benefits to that. Yeah. Okay. CBD, if you have joint pain, for sure. I've used CBD. It's great. It doesn't get you high though. It just helps. It helps with inflammation and sleeping. But this idea that, it's some kind of enlightened spiritual thing that I do that helps me, in whatever way. There's all kinds of different, examples of how people try to push this. It's like, okay, then do it once in a while. If it's a spiritual, like, again, I like mushrooms once in a while, like once every few years, I'll engage in a mushroom trip. I'm not doing them every fucking day. That's retarded.
Yeah, pseudo spiritual trip to kind of clear your mind, maybe write things down that you want to accomplish with it. And you if you want to have a spiritual trip with psychedelics or even weed or whatever, you have to know how to meditate too. Like you don't exactly have to, but that is where you're actually going to get profound spiritual, long-lasting experiences that actually help your life in the long term, is by meditating and mindfulness and actually knowing yourself through that. I can see there's a lot of funny shit going on in the chat. Can we just do meth? We will be productive if we do meth. And yeah, you probably would be in the short term, but then you'd get all schizo and start scratching
it's
all
hilarious.
your non-existent bugs in your skin.
It's hilarious to me that people will be like, okay, this idea, like, yeah, they'll talk about SSRIs or, you know, these amphetamines that were given to kids and how fucked up that is. And they're high as fuck drinking a beer. Like, I don't know. You guys might see that as, I understand that they are different, but to me, there's not that much of a difference. Personally, I don't see it as that much. It's something that you're using to cope with life, to numb something. If you're doing it all the time or ritualistically.
Well, we could save the meth for if we're doing a blitz.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that in chat.
Sure. Yeah. If you're in war, go nuts. Use your Pervitin, use the fucking Adderall. I don't care. Yeah, fine.
Modafinil.
Yeah,
if we got to stay up for 2 days straight. Waiting for Charlie in the bushes.
Derek Knight says, if I quit my vape, you'll quit your one hitter. I assume that's weed. Cool. A deal. I'm switching to nicotine gum. But sure.
There you go. Challenge accepted, I guess. No, I guess the first step to that is, or a great step away from all this stuff is, when you feel the urge to do it, have a bunch of activities that will maybe take care of the same problem that you were looking to numb out, but in a positive way, whether that's working out, exercise, going out to a meeting that doesn't involve drinking with other people, like a physical activity, group hike, or something along those lines. Meditation, like you have an urge to go do your weed or to go grab a beer, go to the store. Go and do a great yoga session and involve some meditation. Make it a challenge. Get deranged. You could get some adrenaline out of just getting hyped up.
There's a great point there too, which is, as somebody who had this, you know, the drinking and dope phase in, you know, my 20s, you know what was funny is when I stopped doing that, all the people I was hanging out with, I was like, you guys are fucking dumb. all you care about is superficial, stupid shit and getting fucked up. And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I'm done with this shit. And I started going to MMA. And I stopped drinking and smoking weed entirely. And my life got a lot better. And I was not hanging around with retards.
I mean, that's a common denominator in college and university for a lot of the people you
I know it is,
and
but
a lot of things you're doing. Yeah. And
the
I felt
reason I'm
that
bringing
too.
it up is because are you guys, when you're doing your DAG meetups at bars, and that's fine. Like, again, I'm not opposed to that.
That's the thing now, is that now all my best friends, people who I should be hanging out with, we still do the same things. So it's there, but at least we're aware of it. And, you know, we're trying to do our best. And we have a lot in common besides the drinking. We would hang out even if we were to go full sober. 100%.
Anyways, I'm just, that was a tangent there. I don't even know how we got onto that topic.
No, it's a good topic. I could see how passionate you were last night about it on your after party.
I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of, and I'm
it's a good icebreaker. It's a good icebreaker to get people into the community, but it's got to go further from there. And
I'm not even like,
it's draining people of their money too.
It's kind of directed at the community itself. Yeah. Seriously, like, guys, all the meetings are fucking bars. It's always about house parties and liquor and dope. I mean, that's not what it's about, but that's what it devolves into. Why? Like, that isn't good. It might not be, like, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not good necessarily, especially whenever that's the sole. I said it this way last night. If the only way you're interacting with the community is whenever you're at a party or at a bar and you're getting drunk or high, then that's no good. Okay, that's not helping. All you're doing is it's great that you found a community that you get along. That's awesome, right? The point is not to get fucked up together.
I'm sure that's how the Proud Boys went down.
Is that what we're here for? We're here to get fucked up together. I don't want that, personally.
No, good points. I'm sure that's how many groups before us, and I'm not saying we're the same as like somebody like the Proud Boys that actually had membership and was not like a community surrounding a bunch of podcasters, right? But I've heard that they were just like a drinking club, and it just evolved into degeneracy and wanting to start fights with people, fueled by their alcoholic escapades. And what good does that get you? They're put on a terrorist. They're put on the terrorist list, and they've barely even done anything in Canada. So
Jeremy would tell you this himself. He's been. I mean, it's court mandated, but look at how Jeremy is better now, and he'll tell you this himself. He's not drinking. He's not smoking weed. He's working out again, and he's better. And honestly, I've seen that in his streams. There's a little bit of a rocky point there when he first came back, where it was like I think he was still adjusting to getting back to it. And then lately he's just been fire, and there's no chugging beers anymore. I love it.
That's good.
I love that aspect is gone.
And same here. I've realized drinking on stream is not good. You don't even know, especially if you're doing it on stream and you're getting more drunk as you go. You don't know where you're going to end up at. And, I don't like looking at myself and hearing myself slur words. No, sometimes I even do that without, and I'm not drunk. But when I know that I was, it's not a good feeling, right? To know that you weren't operating at 100% capacity, or at least, you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
You're never gonna operate at 100% capacity, but to at least know that you tried and you pushed through whatever anxiety that would have numbed out. At least there's some strength and some honor in knowing that.
Yeah. There's Sin City Captive has a great comment here, and I'm going to choose to take this the way I want to, but he says, "Don't take the edge off." Yes, exactly. Exactly. Do you want to
Edgy D? Let's go. Don't take it off.
Yeah, but do you want to be a dull sword, or do you want to be a sharp one? I don't want to, take the edge off. I don't want to, blunt myself. Yeah, your fave Karen says Ferry strips when he's drunk. So he's that. Exactly. I act like a fucking moron.
I know that there are some charms to it. Like,
again, I'm not.
It is good to let it out. Like, it's okay to let out loose sometimes, but
yeah, this isn't
to make it a constant thing and to use it to cope. I'm surely have done that before, and it's not productive in the long run. It's extremely destructive, and it's robbing you from your potential.
Yes, and it's again like, yeah, you're right. There's no problem with blowing off steam once in a while, but whenever it becomes, again, I'll use that word, ritual. That's what it has become for so many people. It's a ritualistic part of their life. The way a Muslim prayers is the way some of you guys smoke weed, fucking 5 times a day.
By the way, a lot of these other countries,
Rastafarian, like
they don't do that shit at all. And you think you're gonna be able to fight back against people who are like straight edge as part of their religion strictly? I'm sure that they'll change their ways when they come into Western nations, right? I'm sure Muslims drink a ton and smoke a ton of weed once they get here. But still, there's a lot of collectivism within their community, and they're getting an edge over on you by doing that.
It's just, yeah, anyways, it's just something I keep noticing, and I couldn't hold my tongue anymore on it. I'm just sick of it.
Well,
right.
We're Canada. We're the trailer park boys, right?
Oh my god.
We're Letterkenny.
Yes,
we're
honestly,
just
that's
drinking
exactly
beers
it.
and tooting lines and
smoke 6 paper joints and drink fucking 60s, boys. That's how we get her done. That's how we're gonna win.
Fucking eight cans of ravioli last night.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, yeah.
Well, I think that Uncle Hack is probably not making it tonight. I know that he is in Toronto.
I'm so I derailed your topics a bunch of times there, Edgy.
Oh no. Well, to be honest, I have a bunch of shit that a lot of it is kind of timeless, and I've had it for weeks and weeks. I could cover it anytime. I have a lot of funny stuff that I could just
Are you gonna wrap her there? Or do you want to end on a note that's not me giving the fucking dad lecture to people?
Yeah, okay, I'll look for something over here. We have Scott Adams with his based take on incels. We have stinky migrants, according to a new study. Bizarre study finds people sensitive to disgusting smells are likely xenophobic. Oof, I don't know. How about Chris Barber, additional charges for honking?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Barber's a Fed, though. I heard it from War Campaign, bro.
Yeah, of course. I don't know who he's calling a Fed. I think it's everybody but BJ Dichter at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I already have that one pulled up, so we might as well. We're with the guy. The honking will continue until freedom improves. So maybe you're next on the list. Maybe you're about to catch your first charge here. Who knows if they're able to set that precedent. Now, I'll show you another thing. I had this paired with this news story. So 7 years later, they now have new charges coming out against the guys in Charlottesville. So grand jury indicts torch-wielding marchers from 2017 incident in Charlottesville.
Yeah, I saw this one.
Saying that they appeared to have a felony, which has no statute of limitations. So what they're charging them for is law against burning to intimidate. So the same law that they have, I guess, against, the KKK burning crosses on people's lawns, that's what they're trying to apply to many of the Tiki Torch marches. Now, this got rejected when it was brought up, 6-7 years ago at this point now. But now they're trying to bring it back, saying that, some of them might have been hitting the counter protesters or the other protesters, the other side, with their torches. So now they're using it to intimidate or something. There's a lot of questions to ask about that. How did they get pitted in with each other? Why are these counter protesters attacking people with tiki torches and impeding their movement? But this also goes to show they're going to go after people 6-7 years later. How many years after the Freedom Convoy are they going to keep charging people? Let's see what Chris Barber is getting a charge for.
So, this word going out to everybody in the trucks around city. Right now, there's an order in place to keep the horns down. Horns have to be quiet. Okay? If you see a large, vast majority of police coming towards your truck, like they do, like they're building up. Guys, lock that door, crawl into that bunk. But before you do that, grab that horn switch and don't let go. Let that horn go no matter what time it is, and let it roll as long as possible until they're busting your down. We want everybody to know when the time comes, and that is the best way to do it, is when that happens, do that, guys, please. Let that horn go, don't let it go. When we see that mass force of police coming at you, Okay, guys, be strong. We got this. We got some more announcements coming up. It's going to be pretty cool here. We'll see if we can fire some.
In Canada, where honking is illegal, one honk, that's a crime. That's mischief or something. Two honks, that's honk honk. Now that's a hate crime. We all know that means Heil Hitler, according to that crazed woman in Parliament. Then three honks, that's a genocide. Oh no.
It's fucking, I mean, this is ridiculous, especially because from what I can tell, I mean, maybe I'm reading what Chris Barber said wrong in that video. I've never seen that video before, but it seemed to me like what he was saying is don't honk unless the police roll in force. So we're only going to use the honks as a signal to let people know that the fucking police are coming. So he wasn't advising them to honk indiscriminately to annoy the residents of Ottawa or necessarily, you know, just to flaunt the injunction that they put against horn honking. It seemed to me like he was advising, like, look, if they're going to fuck with us, just let those horns go so that everybody knows. That's the signal. Right? I don't know. That's what I got out of it.
That's exactly what I got out of that. And I think that they really don't like that, for one. They don't like that this guy is trying to call out people to signal for help if they're getting busted. Kind of reminds me of police who pull over people who flash their lights when they see that there's like a police or a speed trap, right? So they try to punish people who are trying to warn about police activity. I don't know what law that is breaking, but apparently it's a thing you can get in trouble for. But it seems like they're trying to conflate the honking ordinance with what this guy was suggesting.
What's the charge? What are they saying that they're going to charge him with? What's the actual?
Chris Barber he encouraged truckers to disobey a court order.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would call that.
It would probably be
obstruction,
something ridiculous, like counseling to obstruct a court order. Like that was one of the things they were threatening me. There was 5 charges they said they would lay against me. It was
when they arrested you.
Multiple mischief. One of them was violation of a court order. The other was obstruction to mischief, and there was something else. I can't remember. It was something stupid, but yeah, I'm sure it'd be something like, you know, counseling to violate a court order or something like that.
Well, I don't know how it works in Canada, but I don't think any of those things are a felony here or what the statute of limitations are.
It seems kind of wild that they're going to...
I don't think that they would go after people who are not in the immediate... what do you call it? The supposed leadership, right? Because they're opening up a huge can of worms with everybody who was there at the protests.
Yeah.
Are they going to give like hundreds, if not thousands of more people obstruction, mischief charges?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right, I wouldn't be surprised if they pick someone out like you or whoever else that they try to name as influencers, right?
They already did it. I mean, you found that article, right? Of them saying that I was a convoy organizer listed in there with Chris Barber.
Key figure. There you go.
Yeah, key figure. That was it, eh? Key figure. That's what they called it. And it's like, why are you doing that? Well, it's because you plan on at some point in the future doing something, or at least you foresee the need to at some point in the future use this as a gotcha or something, like some kind of
some precedent to build off of. Right.
Exactly. So, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me at all if I had some kind of charge.
Let's help them indict you here. This is
Perfect. Let's do it.
One of your famous moments here. I typed in "the honking will continue until freedom improves" on Google, and nice. I finally found one. Just some random person on Facebook.
I lost my mind because I haven't slept in 5 fucking days. It has to fucking stop. The honking will continue until freedom improves. Simple as that. Simple as that. Fuck you. Fuck me? Fuck you.
Classic moment. Well, what is that? That's obstruction, mischief, you probably tampering. Maybe assault because of his poor eardrums. Intimidation. I'm sure that's some kind of criminal offense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just look up a thesaurus for all these words, and then we'll pile on more charges with whatever we can find.
Pretty much.
In there.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You mischievous little criminal.
You dark demon tetrad, you anonymous
Menace.
demon troll.
Did anyone get charged with menace? When I found out that menace was in the criminal code, I was like, damn. Watch the fuck out, Dennis.
That was a fun night. Good times.
Well, I think that's a good note to leave it off on. Some reminiscing the past, possibly getting Ferry a couple more charges or some charges to begin with.
Thanks, buddy.
You know, we'll start you off.
Yo, Shane's up on me in arrests and charges. I got rookie numbers. I gotta pump those numbers up. Shane's been arrested twice. I've only got one, so I'm a little pissed off about that.
This is the kind of positive community building we were talking about, right?
Yeah, fight. Don't get drunk. Go get arrested. What are you guys doing?
Well, when there are worse and worse laws about infringing on our free speech, like not being able to go within a mile of a drag queen story hours, maybe there is some civil disobedience that needs to be done. Non-violence, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have you ever heard of Exurius?
No.
A great, I don't know exactly what kind of music you would call this. I actually sent this to Tofu and I'm like, do you think that we could make something along these lines? A kind of like positive, wholesome nationalist anthem. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second.
All right.
But I just want to check the chat, see everybody out, see if I'm missing any super chats or anything here. Oh, and by the way, come see me live, possibly Ferryman, who knows? Maybe he'll be there. Tomorrow night at Danger Cats in Orangeville, if you're around that area. Orangeville is about like an hour away from Toronto, near Barrie, near Brampton, Mississauga, that kind of area. So come out and watch me. There's going to be a bunch of people there. Should be a lot of fun. Oh, I'm seeing I got a $1 super chat. Thank you, on Rumble. Nice. Saying, dark humorous torture. Tell me more, Edgy. Is that, I don't think you're going to get my dark torture fantasies for just $1 there, M1 dot, but I appreciate it. Nothing else on entropy. Well, thank you guys for coming out, and thank you, Ferry, for coming on to me tonight. And
that was fun.
Helping reprimand these degenerate reprobates with all their drinking and their dope. Let some steam off, but only once in a while, and focus on more positive, community-building, self-improvement endeavors, you know?
Yeah, you guys, like, let's have a real white boy summer and not be drunk all the time. How about that?
Shirts off, on the beach, jacked as fuck.
Let's do that.
And maybe a little bit of this. Maybe not the rioting.
How about a moratorium? Lee said this earlier. How about you know how there's sober October? Let's do a moratorium May. Let's just Diagolon go sober for the month of May.
No, I like that idea. I'm turning 30 that month, and it would be a great way to kick off my dirty 30s.
There you go.
I like that idea. All right.
I don't know if people will go for that though.
Sober October. What was there? There was something March. Derek did one for March where he did no drinking and no weed. I forget what he called it. It probably started with M though. Well, anyways.
Yo, Derek Knight says, "Are we giving up coffee too?" No. Are you a psychopath? Obviously, we're not giving up coffee.
There was like a coffee hater in the chat. It was probably him.
Are you insane?
Somebody was saying coffee is evil, and now I understand like, that is the last of the vices. You have to be fucking on point if you're gonna give away everything, including that, right?
Yeah, no, that's never happening. You're that's just psychotic, okay? Like, what do you mean give up coffee? Jesus Christ. No.
Well, all right. We'll see you guys later. Have a cup of joe tomorrow morning, but no beers, no dope. Ferryman's Dr. Ferry's prescription. We'll see you guys later. Check out Luxurious featuring High Wraith. I actually saw High Wraith, a beautiful nationalist singer, on Mark Collette's show Patriotic Alternative, and then I checked out her music, and it's fucking incredible. So check it out. See you guys later.